The Rules of Work. A definitive code for personal success. Expanded edition. Richard Templar. Forward. Most of us, I'm guessing here, want to do our jobs well. Most of us, still guessing, want more important jobs, bigger salaries, greater security, higher status, and a bright future. So we try to do our jobs so well that we will be rewarded, respected, and promoted. And that is where we go wrong. I'm not guessing anymore. Of course, we have to do our jobs really well. There's no future for the screw-up, the bum, or the sociopath. But Richard Templar puts his finger on the flaw in the implied logic that concludes that the better we do our job, the faster we will rise up the organization. He points out that we are all doing two jobs, but most of us are only conscious of one of them, the job in hand, meeting our sales targets, reducing machine downtime, speeding up monthly management accounts, whatever. The other job is both larger and vaguer, making the organization work. If people think you have it in you to solve the problems of the organization itself, not just your small part of it, you've broken away from the pack. But how do you do that? There's an easy answer: read this book. Follow the rules. I realized when I read this book that I have always been half conscious of the rules, though I never managed to formulate and analyze them with the clarity and detail that Richard Templar brings to the task. There was a time when I had to interview a lot of promotion candidates in the BBC, and with most of them I had this feeling that somehow they didn't look like top management material. Was it how they dressed, how they walked, how they talked? Bits of all of those, but most of all their attitude, their frame of mind, which somehow affected all the others. Most of them stressed how well they did their present job, which was quite unnecessary. We knew that, that's why they were there. It was their entrance ticket to the interview, and there was no point in constantly waving it at us. Amazingly few of them had given any real thought to the problems of the job they were applying for, as opposed to the job they were doing, let alone the problems that 8. The rules of work. 9. Forward. Face the BBC as an organization. They were oblivious of the rules. The American management guru Peter Drucker makes a useful distinction between efficiency and effectiveness. Efficiency is doing the job right, effectiveness is doing the right job. Your boss will tell you how to do the job right, but you have to work out for yourself what the right job is. It means looking at the world outside the organization, what it needs, and how its needs are changing, and what the organization must do, and stop doing, to survive and prosper. I remember interviewing two chief executives of great corporations. Both had joined from college with hundreds of other bright ambitious graduates, and I asked them why it was they had gotten to the top of the heap and not any of the others. One said he didn't know. But what he could tell me was that every job he'd ever done was abolished after he left it. The other didn't know either, but said that no job he'd ever done existed until he started doing it. Both of them were striking examples of people who focused on doing the right job, of thinking like the chairman even when they were junior or middle managers. And I have no doubt they followed all the other rules as well, always somehow looking and sounding like someone who should be in a higher job. And as Richard Templar stresses, they were popular and respected throughout the organization. You can't be a successful chief executive if you're surrounded by embittered, resentful, and demoralized colleagues. The rules of work is first and foremost a guide for the individual manager, an eye-opener for all those who would like to rise to the top but don't seem to be able to find the map. But it is also very much a book for the organization itself. The great danger is fossilization, becoming preoccupied with its internal tasks and systems and procedures, and losing touch with the world outside. And this will happen if everyone is concentrating on being efficient rather than being effective. In other words, if they don't follow the rules. Sir Anthony J. Author, yes, minister and creator of Sir Humphrey. Founder, Video Arts. X. The Rules of Work. Introduction. I first started formulating the rules of work many years ago when I was an assistant manager. There was a promotion going for the next step up manager. There were two possible candidates, myself and Rob. On paper I had more experience, more expertise, most of the staff wanted me as their manager. And I generally knew the new job better. Rob, to be honest, was useless. I was chatting with an outside consultant the company used, and asked him what he thought my chances were. Slim, he replied. I was indignant. I explained all about my experience, my expertise, my superior abilities. Yep, he replied, but you don't walk like a manager. And Rob does. Yep, that's about the strength of it. Needless to say, he was quite right, and Rob got the job. I had to work under a moron. But a moron who walked right. I studied that walk very carefully. The consultant was spot on. There was a manager's walk. I began to notice that every employee, every job, everyone in fact, had their walk. Receptionists walked in a particular way, as did the cashiers, the catering staff, the office workers, the admin, the security staff and the managers, of course. Secretly, I began to practice the walk, looking the part. As I spent a lot of time watching the walk, I realized that there was also a manager's style of attire, of speaking, of behavior. It wasn't enough that I was good at my job and had the experience. I had to look as if I was better than anyone else. It wasn't just a walk, it was an entire makeover. And gradually, as I 11 introduction watched, I noticed that what newspaper was read was important, as was what pen was used, how you wrote, how you talked to colleagues, what you said at meetings, everything, in fact, was being judged, evaluated, acted upon. It wasn't enough to be able to do the job. If you wanted to get on, you had to be seen to be the right type. The rules of work is about creating that type. Of course, you've got to be able to do the job in the first place. But a lot of people can do that. What makes you stand out? What makes you a suitable candidate for promotion? What makes the difference? Act one step ahead. I noticed that among the managers there were some who had mastered the walk, but there were others who were practicing unconsciously for the next walk, the general manager's walk. I happened at that time to be traveling around a lot between different branches and noticed that among the general managers there were some who were going to stay right where they were for a long time. But there were others already practicing for their next step ahead, the regional director's walk and style and image. I switched from practicing the manager's walk and leapt ahead to the general manager's walk. 3 months later I was promoted from assistant manager to general manager in one swift move. I was now the moron's manager. Walk your talk. Rob had the walk. Rule 18, develop a style that gets you noticed, but unfortunately he didn't adhere sufficiently to the 12 the rules of work. Number 1 rule: he didn't know the job well enough. He looked right, sounded right, but the bottom line was he couldn't do the job as well as he should have done. I was brought in over his head because they couldn't sack him. Having just promoted him, it would have looked bad, and they needed someone to oversee his work so that his errors could be rectified quickly. Rob had reached the level of his own incompetence and stayed there for several years, neither improving nor particularly getting worse, just looking good and walking right. He eventually shuffled himself off sideways into running his own business, a restaurant. This failed shortly afterward because he forgot Rule 2, never stand still. Or maybe he never actually knew it. He carried on walking like a manager instead of a restaurateur. His customers never really took to him. By practicing the general manager's walk, I got the promotion. But I also got it because I paid great attention to doing my job well. Rule 1. Once in this new job, I was, of course, completely out of my depth. I had to quickly learn not only my new role and all its responsibilities, but also the position below, which I had not really held. I had stood in for managers, but I had never been a manager. Now I was the manager's manager. I was in great danger of falling flat on my face. Never let anyone know how hard you work. But I was, by now, a dedicated rules player. There was only one recourse: secret learning. I spent every spare second, available evenings, weekends, lunch breaks, studying everything I could that would help me. But I told no one. Rule 13. Within a short time I had mastered enough to be able to do the job well enough. And the embryonic rules of work were born. 13. Introduction. Have a plan. Being a general manager was both fun and pain. It was 50% more work but only 20% more pay. My next step, logically, was regional director. But it didn't appeal. More work, much more work, but for not that much more money. I began to develop a plan. Rules 24 to 34. Where did I want to go next? What did I want to do? I was getting bored being stuck in the office all the time, and all those endless dreary meetings, and all that time spent at head office. Not for me. I wanted to have fun again. I wanted to practice the rules. I formulated my plan. What the company didn't have was a roving troubleshooter, a sort of general manager's general manager. I put Rule 4, carve out a niche for yourself into play. I suggested to the chairman that a report was needed. I never suggested that this was the job I wanted, but the agenda was obvious, I suppose. I got it, of course, and became a peripatetic general manager, answer able directly only to the chairman and with a job description I wrote myself. And pay a lot more than the regional directors were on, but they didn't know and I didn't let on. Part V, look after yourself. I cultivated their support and friendship. I was never a threat because it was obvious I wasn't after their job. They may have wanted the money I was making if they had known, but they didn't want the little niche I had carved out for myself. And I did this without being ruthless, dishonest, or unpleased. And in fact, I was always diplomatic when dealing with the general managers. I treated them with courtesy and politeness, even when I had to confront them on some aspect of their job. I added, if you can't say anything nice, shut up and learn the rules. In Part 8, Cultivate Diplomacy. 14. The rules of work. Knowing the people who count. And I quickly learned that if I wanted to know what was going on in a branch, it was best to speak to the people who really knew the maintenance staff, the receptionists, the cashiers, the elevator attendant, and the drivers. It was important both to identify these people and to be on the right side of them. Rule 94. They supplied me with more information than anyone would have believed, and all for the price of a simple hello. Bob, how's your daughter doing at college these days? The rules of work took shape. Over the next few years I watched them grow up and gain maturity and experience. I left the corporation and founded my own consultancy. I trained managers in the rules of work and watched them go out into the world and conquer their destiny with charm and courtesy, confidence, and authority. But I see you have questions. How do these rules work? Are they manipulative? No, you don't make anyone else do anything. It is you that is changing and improving. Do I have to become someone else? No, you may need to change your behavior a bit, but not your personality or values. You'll go on being you, but a slicker, quicker you, a more successful you. Are they hard to learn? No, you can learn them in a week or two, but it does take a long time to really master them. But we are learning all the time and even practicing. One rule is better than none at all. Is it easy to spot others doing them? Yes, sometimes, but the really good rules players will never let you see what they are doing. They're too good for that. But once you become a rules player too, it does become easier to see what rule people are using at any particular time. 15. Introduction. Will I notice benefits right away? Oh yes, you betcha. Immediately. Do I still do them? I wouldn't even admit to doing them. In the first place, I'm a rules player after all. Is it ethical to use the rules? Yes. You aren't doing anything wrong, merely utilizing your own natural skills and talents and adapting them, using them consciously. This is a key area for understanding the rules consciously. Everything you do will have been decided beforehand. You'll still appear spontaneous, of course, you decided that as well, but you will be a conscious controller of any situation rather than an unconscious victim. You will be awake and aware, living in the moment and taking advantage of your own abilities. The bottom line is that you must be able to do your job and do it well in the first place. The rules are not for slackers. You think you work hard now? It's nothing to doing the rules successfully now. That really does take work. And let's face it, you love to work. You love doing your job. You have to be wanting to read the rules and to want to be moving up. What I am suggesting is that you consciously think about every area of that work and make changes to improve the way you do it, how people perceive you to be doing it. If you don't practice the rules, you will muddle along, get by, maybe find what it is you are looking for. You may already know a lot of these rules and be practicing them instinctively and intuitively. Now we will do them consciously. If you do, you will get promoted, get along better with your colleagues, feel better about yourself, enjoy your work more, understand your job better, understand your boss's point of view better, take more pride in both yourself and your work, set a good example for junior staff, contribute more to your company, be valued and respected, spread an aura of goodwill and cooperation around you. Be successful if you leave to start your own business. These rules are simple and effective, safe, and practical. They are your 10 steps to building confidence and creating a new and more powerful you. And building that new you morally and ethically. You aren't going to do anything that you wouldn't expect and appreciate others doing to you. These rules Enhance personal standards and elevate your individual privacy. Please. They are my gift to you. They're yours. Keep them safe. Keep them secret. 16. The Rules of Work. Part I. Walk your talk. This page intentionally left blank. These first rules are the underlying ones that govern all the others. Know your job well, do it well, and be better than anyone else at doing it. It's that simple. The secret part is to make sure nobody knows how hard you have to work to do it so well. You can do all your learning in secret, in private. Don't let on, and don't let anyone know you do this, and never ever let anyone know you've read this book. It is your secret Bible. The important thing is to look calm and efficient, on top of everything and totally in control. You glide through your daily work with ease and confidence. You are unflappable and unstoppable. Bottom line is, however, you must be really good at your basic job. 3. Walk your talk. It's all too easy for your work to get overlooked in the busy hurly-burly of office life. You're slaving away, and it can be hard to remember that you need to put in some effort to boost your individual status and personal kudos for your work. But it's important. You have to make your mark so you stand out, and your promotional potential will be realized. The best way to do this is to step outside the normal working routine. If you have to process so many widgets each day, and so does everyone else, then processing more won't do you that much good. But if you submit a report to your boss of how everyone could process more widgets, then you'll get noticed. The unsolicited report is a brilliant way to stand out from the crowd. It shows you're thinking on your feet and using your initiative. But it mustn't be used too often. If you subject your boss to a barrage of unsolicited reports, you'll get noticed, but in completely the wrong way. You have to stick to certain rules. Only submit a report occasionally. Make really sure that your report will actually work, that it will do good or provide benefits. Make sure your name is prominently displayed. Make sure the report will be seen not only by your boss, but by his boss as well. It doesn't have to be a report, it can be an article in the company newsletter. Rule 1. For the rules of work. Get your work noticed. Of course, the very best way to get your work noticed is to be very, very good at your job. And the best way to be good at your job is to be totally dedicated to doing the job and ignoring all the rest. There is a vast amount of politics, gossip, gamesmanship, time wasting, and socializing that goes on in the name of work. It isn't work. Keep your eye on the ball, and you'll already be playing with a vast advantage over your colleagues. The rules player stays focused. Keep your mind on the task at hand, being very good at your job, and don't get distracted. Rule 1. 5. Walk your talk. The unsolicited report is a brilliant way to stand out from the crowd. Never stand still. Rule 2. 6. The rules of work. Most people go into work each day with only one thought: getting through to going home time. During their day they will do whatever they have to arrive at that magic time. You won't. You won't stand still. Having gotten the job seems enough for most people, that they will just do it and thus remain static. But doing the job isn't the end game for you, it is merely a means to the end. And the end for you is promotion, more money, success, amassing the contacts and experience to set out on your own, whatever it is that is on your wish list. The job, in a way, is an irrelevance. Yes, you have to do the work. And yes, you have to do it supremely well. But your eye should already be on the next step, and every activity you indulge in at work should be merely a step in your plan to move up. While others are thinking of their next coffee break or how to get through the afternoon without actually having to do any work, you will be busy planning and executing your next maneuver. In an ideal world, the rules players will have gotten their work done by lunchtime so that they have the afternoon free to study for the next promotion, to assess the competition among close colleagues, to write the unsolicited reports to get their work noticed, to research ways to improve the work process for everyone, to further their knowledge of company procedures and history. If you can't get your work done by lunchtime, then you will have to fit all these things into and around the work. What the competition will be doing is not doing them. But you don't stand still. Never accept that doing the job is enough. That's for the others. You will be moving right along preparing, studying, analyzing, and learning. We talked earlier about the manager's walk. Well, that's what you'll be doing, practicing the manager's walk or whoever's walk it is you need to master. You have to see promotion or whatever else it is you want as a movement. You keep moving or you grow moss. You have to have movement or you grow stagnant. You have to like movement or you grow roots. Movement requires of you that you don't sit on your backside and do nothing, don't stand still. Rule 2. 7. Walk your talk. In an ideal world, the rules players will have gotten their work done by lunchtime so that they have the afternoon free. Volunteer carefully. Rule 3. 8. The rules of work. A lot of people think that if they say yes to everything, they will get noticed, get praised, and get promoted. Not true. The clever manager above them will use this "I'll do it" mentality. And you will end up overworked, undervalued, and abused. Before you put your hand up to volunteer for anything, think very carefully. You have to ask yourself various questions. Why is this person asking for volunteers? How will this further my plan? How will I look to senior management if I volunteer? How will I look if I don't volunteer? Is this a dirty job that no one else wants? Or is this person genuinely, desperately overburdened and really in need of my help? It might well be a dirty job that no one else wants, and by volunteering you might look very good in the eyes of senior management. They think you capable of rising to a challenge, being useful, and being prepared to get your sleeves rolled up and stuck in. On the other hand, they might think you are an idiot. Or if you volunteer to do the filing, they'll see you as a mere filing clerk. Or you might generate a load of goodwill for helping out someone in real need of support. Be careful and choose your moments. There's no point sticking your hand up if it means you're going to be seen as a monkey. Only take that one step forward when you are confident you will look good, gain benefit, or make a difference to someone who needs help. Also be aware that sometimes you seem to have volunteered without putting your hand up or stepping forward. It just happens that sometimes all your colleagues take a collective step backward, leaving you there out in the open seemingly volunteering when you really had no intention of doing so. The first time this happens, you will have to ride with it and do the job, but make sure it doesn't happen again. Not to a rules player, not twice. Keep your ear better attuned next time and feel out the collective approach. Make sure you're stepping backward with the rest of them. Rule 3. 9. Walk your talk. Before you put your hand up to volunteer for anything, think Very carefully. Carve out a niche for yourself. Rule 4. 10. The rules of work. I once worked with a colleague who made it a great personal skill to find out stuff about customers that we couldn't. It seemed he always knew the names of their children, where they went on vacation, their birthdays, and their spouses, their favorite music and restaurants. Consequently, if you had to deal with a particular customer, you went to Mike and asked, politely and humbly, if he could give you some little tidbit that would get you well in with the customer. Mike had carved out a niche for himself. No one asked him to become a walking encyclopedia of customer likes and dislikes. It wasn't part of his job description. It took a lot of work and unseen effort. And it was a very valuable asset. It didn't take long for the regional director to hear of this extra effort Mike had put in, and his rise up the corporate ladder was swift, meteoric, unprecedented. That's all it took. I say all, but it was in fact a lot of work and immensely clever. Carving out a niche means spotting a useful area that no one else has spotted. It might be as simple as being great at spread sheets or report writing. It might be, like Mike, knowing something no one else does. It might be being brilliant with company software or budgets or understanding the system. Make sure you don't make yourself indispensable, or this rule backfires. Carving out a niche for yourself often takes you out of the normal range of office activities. You get to move around more, be out of the office more often without having to explain to anyone where you are or what you are doing. This makes you stand out from the herd and gives you independence and a superior quality. I once volunteered to edit the company newsletter bearing in mind the previous rule and could wander about between our 7 branches at will. Obviously, I always made sure my work was done on time and supremely well. Carving out a niche for yourself frequently means you get noticed by people other than your boss, other people's bosses. These bosses get together and they talk. If they bring your name up, it will be in a good way. I see Rich has been busy doing some really original market analysis. This makes it difficult for your boss not to promote you if she wants to win her peer group approval. If the other bosses think you are a good idea, then your boss really has to go along with it. Rule 4. 11. Walk your talk. If the other bosses think you are a good idea, then your boss really has to go along with it. Underpromise and overdeliver. Rule 5. 12. The rules of work. If you know you can do it by Wednesday, always say Friday. If you know it will take your department a week, say 2. If you know it will cost an extra 2 people to get the new machine installed and up and running, then say 3. This isn't dishonest, merely prudent. If it gets spotted that this is what you do, then openly and honestly admit it and say you always build a contingency percentage into your calculations. They can't kill you for that. That's the first bit. Underpromise. And just because you have said Friday or 2 weeks or whatever doesn't mean you can coast and use up that allowance. Oh, no. What you have to do is make sure you deliver early, on budget, and better than promised. And that's the second part. Over-deliver. This means, if you promised to have the report finished by Monday first thing, it is finished, but not only is it a report, it also contains the full implementation plans for the new premises. Or if you said you'd have the exhibition stand up and running by Sunday night with only 2 extra members of staff, you have and you've managed to get your major competitor to pull out of the show. Or if you said you'd have a rough proposal written for the new company brochure by the next meeting, you not only have this but also a full color mock-up. The complete text written and proofread, all the photos taken, and full printing costs and quotes for distribution. Obviously, you've got to be careful that you don't overstep the mark and assume responsibilities you haven't been given, but I'm sure you get the idea. Again, it might be stating the obvious, but don't be too blatant. When you do this, or your boss will get to expect it, it should be a pleasant surprise, not a frequently used tactic. It also helps sometimes to act dumb. You can pretend you don't really understand some new technique or software when in reality you know it back to front. Then when you suddenly do all the budgets on the spreadsheets that no one else could, you look good. If, in advance, you had said, "Oh, yes, I know that, I worked with these spreadsheets at my last place," there is no surprise, and you've given the game away and your advantage. When you underpromise and overdeliver, you have to have a bottom line. In your case, as a rules player, it is simply that you will never deliver late or deliver short. That's it. If you have to sweat blood and work all night, then so be it. You will deliver when you said you would, or earlier if you can. Without exception. It is better to negotiate a longer delivery time in the first place than to have to let someone down. A lot of people are so keen to be liked, or approved of, or praised, that they will agree to the first delivery time offered to them. "Oh yes, I can do that," and then they fail. They look like pushovers in the first place and incompetent in the last. Rule 5.13 Walk your talk. You will never deliver late or deliver short. Learn to ask why. Rule 6.14 The rules of work. You won't be able to do your best for your employer if you can't see the big picture. You may be only a humble cog in a huge grinding machine, but if you can't step back and see what the whole machine is up to, you won't be able to do your little coggy things as well as you could. What's more, if you only ever talk in terms of your cog and your immediate boring cogs and bolts and shafts and pistons, everyone around you will see you as belonging neatly in that little part of the machine. But you have aspirations to move into bigger and more important parts of the machine, don't you? Of course you do. You're a rules player. You want to grow and develop and make a bigger contribution. And to do that and be seen as a suitable candidate to do that, you need to understand what drives the whole thing and what its purpose is. The way you do that is to ask questions. When your boss briefs you on any new task or project, ask how it fits into the big picture. Why are you shifting focus to selling by phone? Is this a standard market trend, or is your company trying to do something innovative? Why is the accounts department split into two? Is this to benefit customers or to help the internal structure? And so on. I'm not talking about plaguing your boss with questions about what color paper clip you should use for the pink triplicate sheets and whether it's okay to put your vacation request in via email. I'm talking about taking an interest in the whole organization and not just your corner of it, and letting your boss see that you have your eye on the big picture. One of the reasons for this is, of course, that your boss will start to see you as someone who is capable of working at a higher level with a bigger overview, and someone who has a loyalty and concern for the whole company. But you'll also find that your own job makes far more sense when you can see the wider view, and that you're more motivated when you understand the reasons behind changes, new directives, extra work, or special projects. Rule 6. 15. Walk your talk. I'm talking about taking an interest in the whole organization, and not just your corner of it. Be 100% committed. Rule 7. 16. The rules of work. Being a rules player means you are going to have to work a whole lot harder than any of your colleagues. They can coast. You can't. They can afford to lighten up and put their feet up. You can't. To move up, you have to be 100% committed. You can't afford to lose sight of your long-term goal for a second. For you there is no time off, no downtime, no lunging around time, no slip-ups, no mistakes, no accidental deviations from the script. You have to become like a master criminal. They lead incredibly law-abiding lives because they can't risk breaking a tiny law in case it draws attention to themselves and the really big crimes get revealed. And watch what you say and what you do. If any of this seems too much, then bow out now. I only want committed rules players on this team. You are going to have to sign an oath in blood if you want to make this grade. You are going to have to be vigilant, dedicated, watchful, keen, ready, prepared, cautious, alert, and on the ball. Tall order. Is it worth it? You bet. In the land of the blind, you will be the only one with both eyes open and seeing. You will be powerful, and most importantly you will be having fun. There is no greater buzz than seeing the games that are going on around you and being completely uninvolved, utterly objective, and supremely detached. You will find that you won't have to do very much once you start observing. You will be able to give people a tiny nudge to get them to change direction rather than a huge big shove. Your dealings will become incredibly delicate and gentle. But you really do have to be 100% committed. If you try this stuff without such dedication, you will go off half-cocked and run the risk of looking foolish instead of cool and in control. But the beauty of total commitment is that you no longer have any decisions to make. You know your path exactly, and in any situation you only have to ask, does this further my role playing or not? And then the decision is made for you. Easy. Rule 7. 17. Walk your talk. You are going to have to be vigilant, dedicated, watchful, keen, ready, prepared, cautious, alert, and on the ball. Learn from others' mistakes. Rule 8. 18. The rules of work. A clever man learns from his own mistakes, but a wise man learns from others' mistakes. That's what they say, and any rules player with sense follows this principle. We all make some mistakes, but the fewer you make the better. It sounds good, doesn't it? However, you can't just have the odd catchy quote up your sleeve. You have to really do this stuff. That means that every time someone near you messes up, you need to know all about it. You'll have to do your detective work, subtly mind you. No one wants to be cross-examined by a colleague about where they went wrong, and there's a danger of coming across as smug and self-satisfied and nosy and condescending because it wasn't you who made the mistake, and that is definitely non-rules behavior. So when a colleague gets himself in hot water, find out what went wrong without getting spotted. One of the best ways to do this is to offer to help him put things right. After all, this isn't a competition, and we don't actually want our teammates to mess up. It's just that if they do it anyway, we might as well get some benefit from it. Helping them remedy things can be a great way of finding out exactly what happened. Once you've found out just what went wrong, work out how and why it happened. Then be brutally honest with yourself about whether you could have made the same mistake. Have you ever been in a hurry and failed to double-check the paper work? Or forgotten to check your voicemail at the end of the day? Or negotiated on the basis of figures you took as right, but could actually have been inaccurate? Or written down the wrong delivery date in your diary? If so, you need to devise some kind of system now to make sure it can't happen in the future, otherwise it's only a matter of time before you make the same mistake. And remember, if you've already witnessed your colleague getting it wrong, you'll look even worse when it subsequently happens to you. Over time, you'll find that a thorough and inquiring attitude to other people's mistakes, rather than a complacent, "it won't happen to me" approach, will more than pay off. And the fewer mistakes you make, the more you'll impress the boss. It's as simple as that. Rule 8. 19. Walk your talk. Every time someone near you messes up, you need to know all about it. Enjoy what you are doing. Rule 9. 20. The rules of work. If you're not enjoying yourself, what are you doing? If there is no entertainment value in your work, then there really is no point in doing it. You can probably get enough in unemployment benefit to survive. I think there are an awful lot of people out there who really do enjoy working but are frightened and to say so in case they get accused of being workaholics or sad or something. There is no shame in saying you enjoy your work. There seems to be some kudos in being miserable at work, in moaning about your situation. There is a sort of office pecking order, where people try to outdo each other in moaning about how much they hate their work. Not for you, there's not. The rules player enjoys work and makes sure people know that. Once you acknowledge that work is fun, and for you it is even more fun than for anyone else, you will find your step lightens, your stress levels decrease, and your whole demeanor lightens. By admitting work is fun, you are trading in a secret bit of knowledge that only really successful people usually have. Work is fun. Engrave it on your heart. Having a good time at work and realizing work is good isn't the same thing. Work being good means you take pride in what you do, enjoy the challenge, and look forward to each day with optimism and enthusiasm. Having a good time at work means not achieving much, talking a lot, winding up colleagues, and drinking champagne all afternoon. There is a difference, I'm sure you will agree. Having a good time at work is a temporary thing. It lasts while the fun lasts, but quickly flags once the excitement, the elation, has worn off. Work being good means enjoying the negotiating, the hiring and firing, the day-to-day challenges, the stresses and disappointments, the uncertain future, the testing of one's mettle, the new learning curves. A surprising number of people die within a year of retirement. This suggests that work is more important to our existence than we think. If you ain't enjoying all this and appreciating that it is enjoyable, then you are doomed to be one of the moaners, one of life's victims. Rule 9. 21. Walk your talk. There is no shame in saying you enjoy your work. Develop the right attitude. Rule 10. 22. The rules of work. At work, a lot of people have a sort of us and them attitude. They like to side with the workers and moan about the management. You, on the other hand, will develop the right attitude and not become one of the us mentality. No matter what your position now, you are the next head of department, an embryonic chairman of the board, a budding managing director. You have to start to look at both sides of a situation and identify the position of them. You may not voice this, and may even, in public, appear to side with your fellow workers and colleagues. But deep down, in your heart, you understand and side with them. Never forget that. Your colleagues may moan about management policy, but you will analyze it and try to see it from their point of view. To fit in and blend, you may be tempted to adopt the camouflage of a moaning worker, not a wise move. Nod in agreement, but don't moan yourself. The right attitude is twofold. 1. You side with management and see policy decision from their point of view. 2. You devote your attention to becoming a total and calm mid-rules player. You look out for number 1. That's you. The right attitude means giving it your best shot, not just today but every day. Not just when it's easy but when it's awful as well. The right attitude means going that extra mile, giving it that extra effort even when you're tired and pissed off and ready to quit. Others can quit, but you can't. You're a rules player. The right attitude is head up, never moaning, always positive and upbeat, constantly looking for the advantage and the edge. The right attitude is developing standards and sticking to them. Being sure of your bottom line and knowing when to make a stand. The right attitude is being aware that you have enormous power and that you will exercise that power with kindness, restraint, humanity, and consideration. You won't put anyone down or be ruthless or manipulative. Yes, you may take advantage of others' sleepiness or apathy or wrong attitude. That's their problem. But you will take the moral high ground and be blameless. The right attitude is being good but quick, kind but observant, considerate but successful. Rule 10. 23. Walk your talk. You will take the moral high ground and be blameless. Be passionate but don't kill yourself. Rule 11. 24. The rules of work. I hope you're very passionate about your job. Whether your job satisfaction comes from the people you work with, the sense of achievement, a deep belief in what you're doing, the recognition you get, the money you earn, or anything else, I hope you get enough out of the job to feel very passionate about doing it. But don't fall into the trap of thinking that if you're passionate, you have to work long hours and jump through countless hoops to prove it. Being passionate isn't the same thing as staying late at the office. If you have a positive sense of belief in your work and an enthusiasm for it, that will shine through. Your boss will recognize it and, I trust, appreciate it. Regardless of the hours you put in. It isn't necessary to work yourself into the ground to be passionate about your work. In fact, it's hard to sustain your love of a job that is slowly draining all your energy. It's what you achieve that counts, not how long it takes you to achieve it. You might argue that if you're really passionate, you should be able to achieve the same as other people in a fraction of the time. Okay, that may not mean you can go home by mid-afternoon, but it does mean that your passion will keep your output high even if you knock off at 5:30 like everyone else. Being passionate about your work, which is generally regarded as being a good thing, is about caring whether you do a good job. It's not about how you work, it's about how you feel. So, not only do you not have to work long hours to prove your passion, but it wouldn't prove it anyway because it's quite possible to work 16 hours a day and still not care about what you do. It would be a pretty miserable life, granted, but I've known people do it. So cultivate a positive enthusiasm about your work. If you don't feel passionate about it, look for a new way to view it. that makes you care, or work out what would generate that kind of passion in you, and then create it in your work. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. For some people it's a lifelong search. But I'll promise you one thing: if you're not even looking, you'll never find it. Rule 11. 25 Walk your talk. It's not about how you work, it's about how you feel. Manage your energy. Rule 12. 26 The rules of work. Have you heard of time management? Of course you have. Everyone has. I hope you're good at it and doing everything you can to improve. There's always room to manage our time better, and the more effectively you work, the more you will achieve and the more time you'll have left over for yourself as well. What gets less well promoted is the need to manage your energy. I don't know why this is, since your energy is one of your most essential resources and it doesn't look after itself. You need to bring plenty of energy to what you do at work. And it's your job to make sure that energy is there when it's needed. In part this means looking after your physical energy. Make sure you stay fit and healthy, and don't wear yourself out when you have work the next day. Just as we make the kids go to bed on time when it's school tomorrow, so you should make sure you don't stay up late, overeat, get drunk, wear yourself out, skip breakfast, or otherwise reduce your potential at work. And don't forget your mental energy. What time of day do you work best? On a full stomach or just a comfortable one with no hunger pains? What environment makes you most effective? At work: quiet, busy, pressured, noisy, companionable. We're all different, and you may not have total control over your working day, but you can make sure those tasks that need concentration get allocated to times when you're best able to concentrate and so on. And there's emotional energy too. If things are going badly in your home life, you need to find ways to bolster your emotional mood before you get to work in the morning so your job isn't affected. There's more on this in Rule 14, keep your home life at home. If you're under emotional pressure at work, again, you'll need to come up with constructive ways to keep your energy levels up. Go for a run at lunchtime, tackle the person who's bugging you, talk to your boss about your worries. Finally, your spiritual side needs room to stretch to feel energized. For some people this can happen outside work, while others need to be doing a job that gives them a strong sense of moral worth. Only you know where you stand on this, but make sure that your job isn't cramping your spiritual energy. Or in the end both you and the job will suffer. Rule 12. 27 Walk your talk. It's your job to make sure that energy is there when it's needed. Never let anyone know how hard you work. Rule 13. 28 The rules of work. Look at someone like Richard Branson. He's always seen as playing, flying balloons, living on a converted barge, flying to the States. You never see him sitting at a desk, answering phones, doing paperwork. But at some time during his working day that is exactly what he must do. We just don't get to see it. Thus we think of him as the business playboy, the happy-go-lucky entrepreneur, the devilish entertainer. It's a neat image and one that he seems very happy to go along with, and why not? This is the sort of image the intrepid rules player wants to cultivate: suave, easy, relaxed, languid, in control, and very chilled. You never run, never panic, never even seem to hurry. Yes, you may stay up until the early hours of every morning. But you will never admit this. Yes, you may work through your vacations, weekends, and days off, but you will never let on, never moan about how hard you work or the hours you put in. To the outside observer you are coasting, taking it easy. Taking it all in your stride. Obviously, to be able to do this you have to be very good at your job. If you ain't, then you're going to fail trying this rule out for size. So, what do you do if you aren't very good at your job? Burn that midnight oil again, getting good. Learn, study. Gain experience and knowledge, read, ask questions, revise. Sweat, and cram until you do know that job inside and out. Do this first, and then you can wonder about looking cool and very relaxed. There are a few rules within this rule. Never ask for an extension of a deadline. Never ask for help, never admit that you are out of your depth. You can ask for guidance, advice, information, and opinion, but never help. Never moan or complain about how much work you have to do. Learn to be assertive so you don't get overloaded. This is not about letting others know how hard you do work, but you don't have to overdo it and overwork. Never be seen breaking into a sweat. Always look for ways to ease your workload unnoticed. Of course, and ways to speed things up. Rule 13. 29. Walk your talk. To be able to do this, you have to be very good at your job. Keep your home life at home. Rule 14. 30. The rules of work. When you go to work, you're supposed to be focused on work. To get on with your job. If you spend your time focused on what goes on at home, people will assume you're not really committed to your job. And they'll probably be right, if the truth be told. Think of the people you've worked with in the past or indeed now who spent their time chatting about their family lies, relating details of their social life, complaining about their mother, fantasizing about their vacations, discussing their latest shopping trip, whining about healthcare, and telling you about their plans for Christmas. How many of them would you describe as passionate and committed to their work? Probably none of them. You don't have to keep your personal life so private that your colleagues don't even know that you have kids, that your mother is in the hospital, or that you enjoy fishing. But you do have to keep your personal life well in the background and concentrate on your job during working hours. That will ensure that you do the best job you can in the quickest time and the most effective way. That will ensure that your boss and your boss's boss see you as a focused and enthusiastic worker. And that will ensure that you enjoy the job more and find it more satisfying. No one can enjoy themselves fully when their mind is elsewhere. Your colleagues don't need to know about your personal problems. Sure, you need to have an outlet and good friends to talk to, but not during working hours. If you have good friends among your co-workers, have a drink after work to discuss your problems. Listen, everyone has an ailing parent, a child who's going through a tricky patch at school, an irritating neighbor, a mortgage they can barely afford, or a sister-in-law from hell coming to stay for the weekend. They don't need to hear about your problems. Sorry, but that's the way it is. I'm not unsympathetic, but this isn't the time or the place for it. Of course, I realize that there are occasionally major problems that will have some impact on your work. One of those very rare and exceptional events like a divorce or a bereavement. In these cases, of course, you won't be able to hide it at work. And you should let your boss know why you're not quite so on the ball for a few days or weeks. But if you're doing your best And you have a reputation for being work-focused and keeping your personal life out of the job. The people around you will be so much more understanding and sympathetic when you really need them to be. Rule 14. 31. Walk your talk. No one can enjoy themselves fully when their mind is elsewhere. This page intentionally left blank. Part 2. Know that you're being judged at all times. This page intentionally left blank. Everything about us speaks volumes to others. The way we dress, the car we drive, where we go on vacation, how we talk and walk, what we eat at lunchtime, everything about us is subject to the judgment of others. The following rules are about making sure that the judgment is positive and enhances your career. If you've never thought about it before, these rules will help you recognize the signals you give off and how to improve them so others take notice. You can't stop people from making judgments, but you can change those judgments and consciously affect them. These rules are about being stylish, confident, smart, well-groomed, and very smooth. 35. Know that you're being judged at all times. Rule 15. 36. The rules of work. Remember the poem? If you can keep your head, etc. Well, how do you let them know you are keeping your head? Easy. Smile. Smile no matter what. Smile when you greet your colleagues in the morning. Smile when you shake hands. Smile when it's getting tough. Smile when it's hell. Smile no matter what. And what sort of smile? Friendly, genuine. Make sure it extends to your eyes. Sincere, frank, honest, open, happy. And the easiest way to make your smile all these things is to believe them all. This can't be an act or it'll be spotted immediately. It has to be genuine to appear genuine. You have to feel happy. You have to be enjoying this or your smile will look insincere and false. And if you're not enjoying this, then stop pretending with a fake smile and get the hell out. We'll assume your smile is real and that it comes from genuine happiness and friendliness. Now it is legit to improve on your smile, to rehearse it, to make it better. But it has to be there in the first place. We'll assume it is. Look in the mirror and smile. Chances are it will look all wrong. Of course it will. You can only see yourself front on. And photos don't work either, they're in 2D and there is a lot missing when you look at them. You need to see your smile from all angles in 3D, and there is only one way to see this. And that is on film, video or whatever. If you feel embarrassed getting a partner or friend to video you so you can improve your smile, then you'll have to set it up yourself. Please don't make the mistake I once made. I was a Cultivate a Smile finance manager and was asked to cover for one of our super market managers for an afternoon. The store was empty, and I spent a most enjoyable afternoon practicing my walk, my smile, my general appearance on the CCTV system in the store. I would go back to the office and watch the results as I changed a slight part of whatever bit I was unhappy with. It was great fun. A few weeks later I was invited to watch a SPE Chale show for all the staff. Yes, I had forgotten to wipe the tape. And the shop manager, bless him, had found it and had been putting on shows for all the general staff. I was forced to sit through the whole thing while my co-workers commented on it and pointed out where I was going wrong. Very droll. Very funny. So to improve your smile, make sure you aren't doing a lop-sided grin, that your teeth can be seen but not too much, that you look happy and honest. Keep practicing until you get it. Right. It has to be genuine to appear genuine. Rule 15. 37 Know that you re being judged at all times. No limp fish develop the perfect handshake. Rule 16. 38 The rules of work. We shake hands often and usually quite unconsciously. How many times do you have to shake hands during a normal busy ness week? And how much thought do you give to it? There are so many signals given during that brief handshake though, that you really ought to make it supremely confident, utterly secure, and convincingly reassuring. When someone shakes hands with you, he should be left with the impression of strength, confidence, power, and of someone totally in control of himself. That's you, of course. If you are in any doubt about the rightness of your handshake, get a friend to tell you. How do you make it better? Make it firm. You can always use the other hand to reassuringly grip both your hand and that of your boss/colleague/client. But don't overdo it and leave this person with crushed fingers. You can always adapt your handshake to make it more individual, more memorable. My grandfather had a wonderful handshake. He just used his first two fingers, the fore and index, and his thumb, and gripped very firmly. You felt as if you were shaking hands with royalty. Handshakes are very formal, old-fashioned things. Forget about the high fives, the Masonic twitches, or anything gangsta style. Stick to the old-fashioned sort of shake and you will be remembered as someone confident and authoritative. Good shakers are the ones who proffer their hand first as well as shaking well. They exude confidence by announcing their name and offering their hand at the same time, thus showing keenness, friendliness, a relaxed and confident approach, and a general air of assertiveness. They also look you in the eyes and say your name back to you. We like hearing our own name, and it's an aide-memoire. When you do announce your name, the word that goes first is hello. That's it. You might like to be modern and friendly and say hi, that's up to you. But the good rules player says hello and follows that with her name. And your name is also formal and old-fashioned. It is never hi, I'm Dave, from marketing. The effect is pleasant enough and certainly friendly, but you will have impressed no one, gained no benefit or advantage, and brought yourself down to just about the level of the most junior person there. Much better to say, hello, I'm David Simpson, marketing manager. This immediately separates you from the herd and makes you more senior to anyone else there. Follow this up with a firm, confident handshake, and you will have them eating out of your hand. Rule 16. 39 Know that you re being judged at all times. Forget about the high fives, the Masonic twitches, or anything gangsta style. Exude confidence and energy. Rule 17. 40 The rules of work. I once had to give a talk to a large group of business women about stress management. As I walked to the front to start my talk, I noticed that there was no lectern for notes, not that I had any anyway, nowhere to stand. There was a desk with a chair behind it. If I sat there, I would have been lost to view to anyone who wasn't in the front row, and it would have seemed very stilted and formal. I could have stood there with my arms behind my back, looking like Prince Charles talking to the palace staff. I could have stood there with my hands by my side or clasped in front of my groin like an embarrassed schoolboy. But I was about to talk about stress and its management. I needed to look relaxed, calm, as if I was practicing what I was preaching, walking my talk. I solved my dilemma by sitting on the edge of the desk. I could swing my legs, lean back, lean forward, almost lie down. If I wanted. I met someone several years later who had been there, and she said that she couldn't remember a thing I'd said, but had been impressed by how relaxed I'd seemed and how, when I'd finished talking, I sprang up and went off for photos with the local journalist. I don't remember that bit, but she said I seemed confident, relaxed, but also energetic. That's what we're aiming for. When you walk through the office first thing in the morning, there should be a spring to your step. Let the others crawl in looking hungover or freshly risen from bed or exhausted from long hours commuting. You will arrive fresh and energetic, ready for the day's work, which is easy to deal with, a mere nothing. Walk quickly rather than slowly. Quick means keen, means energy, means awake and lively and ready for the challenges the day will throw your way. Not too quick though, or you'll seem to be in a rush. You need to be smoothly in control, not hurried, not sluggardly, not cowed or beaten. You need to be seen as bright and fresh and alive and enthusiastic. Rule 17. 41. Know that you're being judged at all times. When you walk through the office first thing in the morning, there should be a spring to your step. Develop a style that gets you noticed. Rule 18. 42. The rules of work. The word is style. That means tasteful, formal, civilized, sophisticated, elegant, cultured, refined, and discerning. You are going to develop a style that gets you noticed in all these things. Dyeing your hair red and only ever wearing Goodwill clothes may indeed be a style and one that does get you noticed, but it's not for the rules player. Think Cary Grant rather than Boy George. Think Lauren Bacall rather than Madonna. All have style, all attracted attention. But trust me, Cary or Lauren is what you want. Classic, timeless, quality. You have various options if you want to adopt a style. Choose one thing and get known for it. Always wear black, or double-breasted, or Armani, or have a classy handbag / briefcase collection. Develop a trademark dress style and stick to it. Only ever buy the very best you can afford. Never wear anything tight. Loose clothes talk of quality and elegance, tight clothes of poverty and cheapness. Less is more. Cut down on jewelry and buy / wear only the very best, the finest. If it's not expensive, then don't wear it. You'll find that if you only limit yourself to very expensive items, it helps you eliminate anything that might be considered dubious or of questionable taste. Spending a lot makes you much more discriminating. If you wear makeup, then stick to what suits you, what makes you look good. Don't change your makeup with the seasons or with what's in vogue. Be known for your look. Be instantly recognizable, be stylish. Always dress up rather than down. Formal is best, informal is worst. Make sure all accessories follow the same rules as your dress sense: stylish, expensive, loose, recognizable, tasteful. There's not a lot of point in looking good and then dragging round a battered old briefcase that's seen better days. Not unless, of course, that's your trademark, in which case make sure the briefcase is very old and very battered and very expensive. Rule 18. 43. Know that you're being judged at all times. Think Cary Grant rather than Boy George. Think Lauren Bacall rather than Madonna. Pay attention to personal grooming. Rule 19. 44. The rules of work. Each and every morning you need to check that your personal Grooming is in tip-top condition. Details really matter. You let one thing go and it will be noticed, and it could be the one thing that makes the vital difference between a promotion and a rejection. Make each day as conscientious as an interview day. Before you leave for work, check shoes shined and in good repair. Clothes pressed, clean, new, in good condition, no but tons off, no rips, tears, or splits. You are freshly showered, deodorant in place. Hair clean every day and well cut and styled on a regular and consistent basis. Men shaved if you have to have facial hair, check for straggly hairs, insects, fluff, or mold. Women made up. This can be as simple as you want, but it must be good, consistent, and perfect. Teeth clean and in good repair, breath fresh, tongue clean. No yellow fur. Nails clean and freshly manicured. Hands clean and no ingrained grime from working on old cars or DIY or gardening. Wear thin surgical gloves for all those dirty jobs. If you smoke/drink a lot of coffee, make sure your teeth or hands, for smokers, aren't stained, and use mint/chewing gum to avoid dog breath. Nose and ear hair tidied up/removed. If you wear glasses, make sure they suit you, or renewed on a yearly basis so that you can see, are a perfect fit, and are in good condition. No cracked lenses or tape repairs. You don't have to become vain or to keep checking yourself in the mirror. Once you have got it right, relax and enjoy it. I worked with a woman who would go and clean her teeth after every coffee or sticky bun. Nothing wrong with that except it drew attention to herself, and her colleagues thought her strange and obsessive. Her fault was not in cleaning her teeth so often, but in making such a song and dance out of it. A little discretion would have been much better. Rule 19:45. Know that you are being judged at all times. Make each day as conscientious as an interview day. Be attractive. Rule 20:46. The rules of work. There is no doubt about it, and statistics back it up. Handsome people get on better than those less fortunate in this regard. Handsome people have to work less hard to get ahead. But what makes someone attractive, handsome? If you look at someone you consider attractive, you will be hard-pressed to see what it is they've got that makes them so good-looking. Attractiveness, if we ignore the obvious physical impairments, such as buck teeth or a warty nose, all of which can be correct, is very hard to define. Take any Hollywood stars, such as Liza Minnelli, Woody Allen, Julia Roberts, and Sean Penn, who aren't classically good-looking, and we can see that they have charisma, charm, magnetism, a larger-than-life attitude. They come right out at you. They have life, presence, drama, power, and personality. You too must have these things. They are easier to acquire than looks anyway. Being attractive comes from within. Know that you're being judged at all times. If you dress well, pay attention to your grooming, cultivate that smile, look good and cool at all times, and come across as friendly, warm, articulate, and caring, you will also come across as attractive and good looking. Looks are all in the smile and the eyes. Smiles that light up a room are magnetic and powerful. Eyes that twinkle and are full of life are enough to make us think the whole face is good looking. Attractiveness is also about posture and position. If you slump, you give off an aura of gloom and depression. This is unattractive and not good looking. Your walk should be erect, proud, assured. So should your handshake. Everything about you should be up and open, happy and confident. This is attractive. Your grooming should be faultless, your dress sense superb, your style quirky but suave, your whole demeanor splendid and outstanding. This is attractive. You do not slouch, slump, look scruffy. You do get anything fixed that can be fixed that would be concede. Aired unattractive warts, bad breath, bad teeth, poor eyesight. Stop squinting for God's sake and get some proper glasses. Rule 20. 47 Know that you re being judged at all times. Looks are all in the smile and the eyes. Be cool. Rule 21. 48 The rules of work. At work you should retain your cool at all times and, no matter what, never ever lose your dignity. If there's an office costume party, you can laugh and joke with everyone else, but let them do the dressing up. You remain apart from all that office nonsense. Will this get you a reputation as standoffish, arrogant, self-important? Not if you're a rules player, because you'll know the rules to make sure people admire, like, and respect you, without the need to dress up as Elvis or a fairy or whatever the theme is this year. Stay cool at all times. Give generously, support the cause, but leave the red noses for others to wear at least when you're at work. Remain civilized and sophisticated at all times. Let's face it, you are there to do a job. That's what they pay you for. You ain't there to make a fool of yourself. Just so long as you do that job and do it well, the way you do it is up to you. You can choose to get involved in the social side of the office, or you can remain one step removed. This makes you one step away from your colleagues and thus one step nearer to being their manager. None of this means you can't have a laugh and joke with your co-workers, just don't get so friendly or personal that it would become impossible to promote you above them. If you are going to be their boss soon, then it pays to keep a little bit of distance. And you do this by being cool. If you don't know what cool is, try typing cool into your word processor and then, using the thesaurus option, look for antonyms. You get warm, excited, unfashionable. For warm, think sweaty hands uncool. For excited, think small boy on Christmas Day cute but uncool. For unfashionable, think chunky cardigans warm and uncool. So we want to be not warm, think not sweaty. Not excited, think not panicked. Not unfashionable, this isn't the same as fashionable but rather a timeless stylishness, which is, of course, completely different. Cool operators are relaxed and in control. In a crisis they don't rush about screaming, but rather implement safety procedures and calmly and smoothly handle the situation. They are cool. They keep their heads and their composure. And invariably, these are the people who others will turn to in a difficult situation. You don't want someone who panics, you want someone cool, calm, and collected. Rule 21. 49 Know that you re being judged at all times. Remain civilized and sophisticated at all times. Speak well. Rule 22. 50 The rules of work. So what does speaking well mean? Am I suggesting you walk around with a snooty voice and say heis instead of house? And creche instead of crash? Of course not. You can keep your regional accent, that's not the problem. Look at why we speak. It is to communicate, to convey information rather than how we speak. Speaking well means getting information across clearly and effectively. It doesn't matter how you speak, but it does matter that you speak clearly. And speaking clearly means just that clearly. The things you must avoid are mumbling for obvious reasons, people can't hear or understand you. Speaking too softly or quietly again, people can't hear you. Using jargon it's unintelligible to others outside your department or field of expertise. Any sort of speaking that identifies you with a particular group or social class, i.e. youth, trying to use the latest trendy slang or catchphrase, or politically extreme, rowdy, anything, politically correct gone mad, ecologist, vegetarian, or environmentally obsessive, or too obviously belonging to any class system, too poor, too rich, too regional. Speaking badly, using less when you really mean fewer, that sort of thing. If you don't know the difference, get a grammar book and learn it by heart. Don't use verbal mannerisms such as you know or like. Always finish your sentences. There are 4 key words to remember to get you speaking well: bright, clear, pleasant, simple. That's all you need to know. If you use these 4, you won't go wrong, and people will remember what you say and be impressed by your clear, bright speaking voice. Speaking well makes an impact. If you slouch in and mumble your name, people will assume you are underconfident, ill at ease, and barely human, and thus quickly forget you. If you walk in confidently, say your name clearly and with confidence, people will assume you know where you are going, who you are, and what you want, and thus remember you. Speak simply, say directly what it is you want to say and nothing more. Rule 22. 51. Know that you are being judged at all times. Speaking well means getting information across clearly and effectively. Write well. Rule 23. 52. The rules of work. We write for 2 purposes. We write for others to read, and we write for ourselves to read. How you write for yourself is immaterial. You can scribble illegible shorthand or write like a 5-year-old. It doesn't matter, just so long as no one else sees it. But how you write for others to read is of utmost and crucial importance. You will be judged on what you write, how your writing looks. But you say you don't write anything, you type everything. Fine. So what typeface do you choose, and why? What point, size, and why? And you must have to sign documents. That's writing. Your signature is as open to judgment as anything else. I was once told that my signature was that of a very wealthy person. Good, although completely wrong, but it did indicate that I was getting close to the image I wanted to portray. A final point on this: always make your signature big signature, big person. If you use handwriting a lot, then it needs to be legible. It must be able to be read by everyone, or there simply is no point doing it, and it is discourteous not to make the effort. Neat, no crossings out, all lines equal, that sort of thing. Stylish, a bit of a flourish here and there. Mature, rounded letters and joined up. Consistent, the writing at the bottom of the page should look like the writing at the top of the page. Watch your margins and the slope of your writing. You may not know it, but margins or signatures or any form of writing that slope down towards the right of the page indicate a depressed person. Optimist, slant upwards. Make sure your spelling is correct and your grammar adequate. If not, study on it. If you type a lot, use Times New Roman or Arial, 12 point. And only use italics or bold or underlining sparingly. Never mix typefaces. It betrays you as an unstable, immature personality, apparently, or point size. And you just thought it looked fun. Rule 23. 53 Know that you are being judged at all times. How you write for others to read is of utmost and crucial importance. This page intentionally left blank. Part 3. Have a plan. This page intentionally left blank. Do you know where you're going? If you don't, then the probability is that you'll end up going nowhere. Smart followers of the rules know exactly where they're going. They have a plan. They have plotted the path to where they want to be in 6 months, in a year, in 5 years. They plan their game and know how to play. And so will you. Rules players remain flexible and convert their plan according to circumstances. They're not rigid thinkers but smart and very fluid. 57 Have a plan. Rule 24. 58 The rules of work. So what's your game plan for your life? Don't know? Haven't ever thought about it? Most people don't. And that's why they fail. If you don't have a plan, it is terribly easy not to stick to it and end up where the current takes you, a bit of flotsam, adrift on the eddies of life. Very sad. The rules player has a plan, long-term and short-term. Long-term plans can be very simple: qualify, move up, reach the top, retire, die. Or they can be sensible and useful. If you intend to have a career, it makes sense to study the game plan of your chosen industry. Obviously, you will have to build in a certain contingency for the unexpected and the out of your control, but the shrewd rules player will have already amended their long-term game plan well in advance, having seen the indicators and read the signs. I spoke to someone recently who said, who would have predicted downsizing then? The answer is anyone with the brains to have seen which way their business sector was going. So, study your chosen industry and see the progression steps needed to make it to the position you want to occupy. Work out what you need to make those steps. Work out how many steps it takes, usually no more than about 4: junior, middle, senior, executive. If you think otherwise, don't write in. Work out what you want from each step: gaining experience, handling responsibility, learning new skills, acquiring people, management understanding, that sort of thing. You will notice that increasing my earnings just isn't an option here. That is a foregone conclusion if you are a rules player anyway. Know what you want long term. Work out how each step is made. This might be a transfer to another department, relocation to another branch, being offered a partnership, being invited to join the board, moving to another company, that sort of thing. Once you know how each step is made, it doesn't take much to work out what you need to acquire that how. You have to have an end game, the final goal. This can be as high or as extreme as you like: emperor of the world, prime minister, CEO, wealthiest person in the world, whatever it is. A dream and thus has no limits. If you set limits on your imagination, then you will have to settle for less than the best, less than perfect, less than you deserve. But you say we have to be realistic. Fine. Do that, be realistic. But rules players head for the very utmost of their dreams, and nothing less than the top is good enough. Rule 24. 59 Have a plan. If you don't have a plan, it is terribly easy not to stick to it and end up where the current takes you. Know what you want short term. Rule 25. 60 The rules of work. How short is short term? That's entirely up to you. I have 3 short-term plans on the go this month, this year, 5 years. This seems to provide me with sufficient information to plan my workload. It also allows me to work in the short term, plans that affect my family. I can allow for vacations, changes of school, garden/house projects and birthdays, Christmas, that sort of thing. Your 1-month short-term plan should obviously list current work projects, deadlines, prioritized tasks, basic routines. This is for work actually being carried out. Your 1-year plan should have projects that are being formulated, planned, presented, whatever. This is for work being planned rather than executed. Your 5-year plan should be for ideas, dreams, goals, wishes, wants. It is for work you intend executing one day. Your long-term plan will have a career path built into it. Your 5-year plan will take into it any steps you need to carry out that long-term plan. I tend to keep 3 separate records for these 3 short-term plans. My 1-month plan is kept on a clipboard on the desk. It contains a single sheet that lists boxes for deadlines, return phone calls, things to do. I suppose it's a bit like a calendar but without daily entries. My 1-year plan lives on the wall. It isn't a wall chart or year planner but, again, a single sheet with 12 boxes. In each box is a month with the relevant info of what I want to do during that time. It is what I want to do rather than what I have to do. It is a short-term plan, not a to-do list or a calendar or a work schedule. As I am freelance, I have to generate work. This work being done during my 1-month plan or being generated during my 1-year plan is my bread and butter. It is made up of projects I want to do and projects I have to do. The ones I have to do are the bread and the ones I want to do are the butter, such as this book, which has been a delight to plan and write. My 5-year plan is for my general direction. What sort of work do I want to be doing over the next 5 years? Your short-term plan will include work you have to do, but it will be mainly for work you want to do. The shorter the term, the more likely it is to read like your work schedule and less like a wish list. All plans should include practical steps to put into action and make them happen. Otherwise they aren't plans but vague ideas. Within any of these plans, you have to build a contingency. Someone phones you with a project, you can't turn it down on the basis that it isn't in your plan. You have to be flexible. Rule 25. 61. Have a plan. All plans should include practical steps to put into action and make them happen. Study the promotion system. Rule 26. 62. The rules of work. When you start your career, it is at the lowest level, and you gaze upward at the boss, the manager, the managing director, with reverence and awe. One day, inevitably, you will age, gain experience, and ascend to greater heights yourself. Either that, or maybe start up on your own. And for most people that's about it. Career-wise they meander vaguely upward, often getting sidetracked and stopping at a level where they seem comfortable, coasting, happy. And that's it. Career over. Game over. Very sad. Unless that's really what you want. And if you're a committed rules player, I doubt it. The rules player never meanders or arrives anywhere vaguely. You plan. You know the system and use it. You understand the steps to be taken to get you from A to B and onward and upward all the way to Z. You have to study the promotion system if you are to enter it and profit from it. It is simply no use waiting for something to turn up, or for fate to take a hand and propel you upward by luck or chance. You have to seize the day and make your own luck. You have to know exactly how to avoid all cliches and elevate yourself within the system. So, what is the promotion system within your industry? Do you know it? Have you studied it? Study the background of others who have been there before you. If not, chances are you are relying on luck to get you somewhere. This may be fine, and it may get you where you want to be, but it is unreliable. Bit like playing the lottery in the hope it'll make you rich and you can retire. It might happen, but it's not likely. Making a promotion chart. Within your industry, look upward to the most senior position that can be held, or the highest you could possibly expect yourself to aim for. They should really be the same thing. Mark this. Now look at the lowest. Mark this. Now plot all the steps in between. Now mark your own place. Now list the steps needed to get there. You now have your own promotion chart and can cross off each step as you make it. The same principle of steps also works if you decide that, rather than ascend where you are, you'd like to go up on your own and be entrepreneurial rather than corporate. While you are doing this, you can also list all the skills/experience, etc. that you would need for each step to be made successfully. Next to this, you can add what you have to do to acquire these, where you must go, what you have to learn, what you need to study. You can add these back into your long-term plan and your 5-year plan. Rule 26. 63. Have a plan. You have to seize the day and make your own luck. Develop a game plan. Rule 27. 64. The rules of work. Developing a game plan is a bit like an actor choosing a part and learning their script. Your game plan has to be who you are going to be. Not many people choose consciously to be a loser, but that's where they end up. Don't let it happen to you. And it doesn't happen once you seize the initiative and develop a game plan. Your game plan is a sort of personal mission statement. It is different from setting objectives, which is how to be the person your game plan decides you are. So who are you going to be? Successful? A failure? Someone who gives up? Someone who picks themselves up, dusts themselves off, and starts all over again? A brilliant career strategist? A loser? None of these? Obviously, you could decide to be ruthless, unpleasant, cruel, vindictive, but we assume you won't. A rules player is never any of these. Your game plan should include your qualities as well as what sort of game you want to plan. I will be successful and still be a thoroughly nice person. Not many people sit down and consciously carry out this exercise. It may seem simple, but it is an essential tool to get you to where you want to be. If more people did this, they wouldn't end up as idiots, or the office bore, or a gossip, or frighteningly callous in their dealings with their colleagues. If we all had to sit down and write our game plan and then live by it, we might all end up as nicer people. There is no bad karma in trying your hardest to be pleasant, cooperative, helpful, friendly, kind, and honest in your dealings with others around you. Who would sit down and write, I am going to be a complete and utter bastard and harm as many people as I can, be disliked by everyone, and generally make myself as unpopular as possible? Yes, no one would write it, but I've worked with quite a few who live by it as a game plan. Yes, they may be successful, but how do they sleep at night? How do they live with themselves? I once worked with a fairly senior manager whose technique was to arrive, walk through the department, ball out as many people as he could, go to his office, put his feet up with a coffee for half an hour and then walk back again being as nice as pie to everyone. When I questioned him about this, he said, "It keeps them on their toes. They never know where they are." With me, he was genuinely disliked by everyone, feared by most, and commanded zero respect from his peers. Good game plan. Not. Rule 27. 65 Have a plan. Not many people choose consciously to be a loser, but that's where they end up. Set objectives. Rule 28. 66 The rules of work. An objective is a simple one-sentence mission statement that you can use to get you through your day. It is almost impossible to be successful or to get promoted if you don't set objectives. An objective outlines the key important ingredients in your work recipe. Suppose you have a meeting to go to. Now we all hate meetings. They are interminable, boring, unproductive, counterproductive and an endless source of irritation and argument. You know that Stephen from accounts is going to be there and will endeavor usually successfully to wind you up. You know you'll get sidetracked and end up discussing the relocation to Swindon when it doesn't even affect your department. You know you'll end up discussing budgets for the exhibition stand when that's 6 months away and it hasn't even been decided that you're going to take a stand at the NEC this year. So, set an objective. I will speak only on matters I know about and understand and are relevant to me at this meeting, and no matter what Stephen does, I shall not rise to the bait. Good. Now stick to it. Suppose you have to present a report to the finance committee about the new costs of the wildflower meadow to go in front of head office's new buildings. You know the finance committee can waffle on for hours about irrelevant topics such as whether it is better to have oxidase or marsh buttercups, and all you need to do is present them with the cost of seeds, mowing equipment, and haymaking provisions without getting caught up in the minutiae of which flower is most attractive in spring. So, set an objective. I will present my report and, once comments have been made, will make my excuses and leave. If the committee insist on discussing matters that are irrelevant to my being there, I shall assertively point this out and leave. Good. Now stick to it. Use an objective for every area of your working life. Objectives take but seconds, but they do help highlight what is wrong, solutions to what is wrong, action to be taken to correct what is wrong, ways to prevent the problem recurring. Rule 28. 67 Have a plan. It is almost impossible to be successful or to get promoted if you don't set objectives. Know your role. Rule 29. 68 The rules of work. What is your role? I know you are there to do a job, carry out a function, perform certain tasks, follow set procedures, and all that. But what is your role? This is a bit like setting a game plan. A game plan outlines what sort of working person you are going to be. A role is what sort of facilitator you will be. Will you be an ideas person? A moderator? A communicator? A diplomat? A taskmaster? A motivator? Basically, your role is how you fit into the team, and yes, we are all team players. We have to be in this day and age. Dr. Meredith Belbin has spent over 20 years researching the nature of teamwork to improve people's strengths. He has identified 9 distinct team roles. Plant, they are original thinkers, they generate new ideas, they offer solutions to problems, they think in Radi. Kali, different ways, laterally, imaginatively. Resource investigator, they are creative, they like to take ideas and run with them, they are extroverted and popular. Coordinator, they are highly disciplined and controlled. They can focus on objectives, they unify a team. Shaper, they are very achievement orientated, they like to be challenged and to get results. Monitor evaluator, they analyze and balance and weigh. They are calm and detached, they are objective thinkers. Team worker, they are supportive and cooperative, they make good diplomats as they only want what is best for the team. Implementer, they have good organizational skills, they display common sense, they like to get the job done. Completer, they check details, they tidy up after them. They are painstakingly conscientious. Specialist, they are dedicated to acquiring a specialized skill, they are extremely professional, they have drive and dedication. So which are you? What role do you play in the team? Are you happy with your role? Can you change it? Rule 29. 69. Have a plan. Basically, your role is how you fit into the team, and yes, we are all team players, we have to be in this day and age. Know yourself, strengths and weaknesses. Rule 30. 70. The rules of work. If you are going to be a rules player, you have to be incredibly objective about yourself. A lot of people can't do this, they can't turn the spotlight on themselves objectively enough or brightly enough to see themselves as others see them. And it's not just how others see us, it's also how we see ourselves. We all carry a mental image of ourselves, what we look like and sound like, what makes us tick, how we work, but how real is this image? I think I work creatively and eccentrically. Others think I am messy and unorganized. Which is true? Which is the reality? To know your strengths and weaknesses, you first have to understand your role, the way you work. I might see being creative as a strength, lots of lovely ideas, no attention to detail, generating new projects rather than seeing them through or actually working on them. Surely all these are strengths. Not if I am a completer or implementer, they're not, then they are weaknesses. Instead, my strengths would be perseverance, diligence, stickability, predictability, conformity, steadfastness, orderliness. Yuck, surely these are weaknesses. You have to know your role before you can make subjective judgments about strengths and weaknesses. If in doubt, make lists, that's what I always say. Write down what you think are your strengths and weaknesses. Show this list to a close friend who you do not work with. Ask for their objective evaluation. Now show it to someone you can trust, who you do work with. Is there a difference in their evaluation of how close to the truth you are? Bet there is quite a difference. This is because the special skills you bring to friendships are quite different from the ones you bring to a work relationship. This rule is about knowing your strengths and weaknesses. It isn't necessarily about improving them, eliminating them, working on them, changing them in any way. What we are is what we are, and it is what we have to work with. You may well be disorganized, erratic, unpredictable. Is this good or bad? It all depends on your role. You may need to change your role to suit your strengths and weaknesses better. A lot of people think that identifying their strengths and weaknesses means they get to lose the bad stuff and only work with the good stuff. Not true. This isn't therapy. This is the real world. We all have weaknesses. The secret trick is learning to work with them rather than trying to be perfect, which is unrealistic and unproductive. You might be able to find better uses for your weaknesses. But then they would become strengths, wouldn't they? Think about it. Rule 30. 71. Have a plan. You have to know your role before you can make subjective judgments about strengths and weaknesses. Identify key times and events. Rule 31. 72. The rules of work. A cobra has a lot of power, a lot of venom, a lot of energy. But how often do you see one strike? Rarely. Cobras only use all that power and energy when it is appropriate, meaningful, advantageous, beneficial, necessary, important. They strike when in danger or when they need to feed. The rest of the time you wouldn't know they were there. The rest of the time they don't even look like cobras. They don't display their hood except when they have to. You will become a cobra. There is no point using all your energy and power when it ain't necessary. What you have to do is identify the key times and events, then you strike. A cobra's key times and events are fairly simple to identify: threat and hunger. But what are yours? Much more difficult. There's not a lot of point burning all that midnight oil to produce a report that only a couple of your colleagues get to see, and is then forgotten. Wait until it's the big report that's going straight to the desk of the president. That's the one that needs the cobra's striking force. Of course, a lot of people wait for the key time, the office party, the key exhibition, and then they completely and utterly screw it up. They get drunk or fluff their lines, they are late or sick, or they appear with their flies undone or their skirts tucked into the back of their underwear. And key events? The presentation is a good one. Get it right, and it's remembered. Get it wrong and it's you that is forgot. 10. You don't get it wrong. Identify these times and events and shine at them. Be a cobra and strike when it is appropriate. Rule 31. 73. Have a plan. There is no point using all your energy and power when it ain't necessary. Anticipate threats. Rule 32. 74. The rules of work. Threats come at us from every quarter, every day: redundancy, downsizing, takeovers, vindictive colleagues, irascible bosses, new technology, new systems, new procedures. In fact, entire books are devoted to threats, mostly from change, such as Who Moved My Cheese? And How to Handle Tough Situations at Work. If we can think on our feet, stay out of ruts, be flexible and move fast, roll with the punches, and go the distance, we will not only survive change but we shall also be contortionists and athletes of the highest order. Of course, we can't do all that. There will be times when the threat will overtake us and we get squashed. It happens to us all. There is no getting away from the fact that life gets fired at us at point blank range, and we rarely if ever get time to duck. But a threat is always that. Once it becomes a reality, we can deal with it. While it is still a threat, it induces fear but can do no harm. Spotting which threat will turn into a reality is the skill, the talent. There are many threats, and we can't react to all of them. There are fewer realities, and we have to react to them. It helps if we don't see threats as threats, but instead as opportunities. Each threat that becomes a reality is an opportunity to grow and change, adapt and rework our methods and style. of management. If our attitude is positive, we tend to see threats less as a negative thing and more as a positive thing. They bring us the chance to prove ourselves. If we never get challenged, we will never improve. I was once employed as a manager by a company that was taken over. The new bosses brought in their own managers. And 3 of us were downgraded, demoted, in other words. We had no choice apart from walking out, of course. I was, by this time, a committed rules player, so I saw it as an opportunity to prove to the new bosses that I was good enough to be one of their managers, and 3 months later, I was back up there. Of the other 2, 1 eventually walked and 1 stayed downgraded. They both bitched and moaned and felt the move was derogatory and demeaning and an insult. It probably was, but I didn't need to feel depressed about it. I needed to get back up there, upward and onward. Rule 32. 75. Have a plan. Each threat that becomes a reality is an opportunity to grow and change. Look for opportunities. Rule 33. 76. The rules of work. I know I've said have a plan both long-term and short-term, but there do come times when plans have to be thrown out of the window. These are the opportunities. I had a friend who wasn't getting on particularly fast in his promotion plan. One day he found himself sharing a compartment on the train with his chairman. This was his opportunity. He could have fluffed his lines, made a jackass of himself, or been too embarrassed or nervous to take the advantage. But he didn't do any of these things. He made his pitch perfectly. All he did was to chat informally but with the respect his chairman warranted. Show a keen grasp of the company's history, mission statement, and general aims, be presentable, smart, and well spoken, express himself clearly and articulately, and, most importantly, didn't noticeably press his advantage. He knew when to shut up and back off. It certainly worked. His department head was told by the chairman that she had a smart young man there, bring him on a bit, will you? What choice did she have but to promote him? That's seizing an opportunity. You can't write that into your plan, and these moments will come along. When they do, you must recognize them. Play them well. Be cool and suave. What you mustn't do is fail to recognize the moment for what it is, a fleeting opportunity. Panic. Overplay your hand. Get so excited you make an idiot of yourself. Learn to see opportunities as balls. If they get thrown your way, you have but a split second to catch them. There is no time for asking questions, looking over your shoulder, weighing the pros and cons, or dancing the foxtrot. You either catch the ball or you don't. Spend a little time looking back at what opportunities you have missed and what you would do if you had the same chance a second time. Would you react differently now? What did you do wrong? Rule 33. 77. Have a plan. Learn to see opportunities as balls. If they get thrown your way, you have but a split second to catch them. Make learning a lifelong mission. Rule 34. 78. The rules of work. I met a guy once who came from a very poor background and was unable to take his education as far as he'd have liked. He left school at 14 and ended up working all his life as a customs officer, working his way up to a middle management role. When he retired at 65, he decided that at last he could afford to get the education he'd always wanted. So he got a law degree, did his training, and qualified as a barrister at the age of about 70. How many of us would have the attitude to learn? And you need to do that. Never mind the energy. When you watch kids learn, you can see how much they enjoy it. Not when it's boring rote learning with tedious teachers, of course, but when they're inspired and motivated. They couldn't be happier. Well, you and I still have the same brain we had when we were kids. Okay, we may have lost a few little gray cells, but we can still enjoy learning. And if we don't keep learning, we stagnate and become boring old stick in the muds. If you don't learn, you can't change, and if you aren't changing, what's the point of being here? So, make it your express purpose to keep learning. I know a teacher in Scotland who dreamed as a child of becoming a spaceman like most of his school friends, no doubt. However, he did something about it and, instead of allowing everyday life to get in the way of his aim, he lifted his head and made a point of learning and developing. As a result, he won a scholarship to the U.S. Space and Rocket Center in Alabama for a week's intensive space training, complete with zero-gravity exercises and simulated shuttle takeoffs. How cool is that? After that, he could pursue his dream of taking this knowledge and passing it on to the pupils he now teaches. All because he approached life as an ongoing lesson. We can all learn from people like him. Remember what it was that inspired you as a child? Or consider the new things that have grabbed your interest since. Learning new skills for work is valuable, from another language to new computer software. But any learning keeps your mind open and free and exercised, which will benefit your work and your employer. So, whatever it is that excites you, go on, make it your aim to learn more about it. Rule 34. 79. Have a plan. If you don't learn, you can't change, and if you aren't changing, what's the point of being here? And if we do, we'll be following this rule already. This page intentionally left blank. Part 4. If you can't say anything nice, shut up. This page intentionally left blank. These are really easy rules to understand but tough to follow. We all like to gossip, to bitch, to talk about our boss behind her back. The rule, however, is don't do it. Learn to say only positive things, nice things, complimentary things. People judge you by what you say as much as how you say it, so be known as someone who is always pleasant and upbeat. 83. If you can't say anything nice, shut up. Rule 35. 84. The rules of work. Did you know that at the last company conference, Steve from accounts was seen coming out of Debbie's, from Keating, bedroom in the early hours of Sunday morning? And that twice since they have been seen in Luigi's at lunchtime, and Kathy swears she's seen them holding hands in the lift. Steve's married, you know, and I thought Debbie was engaged. What do you think? Should they be carrying on like this? Answer: what's this got to do with me? Good, it has nothing to do with you, unless Steve happens to be your boss and his work is being affected, or you happen to be Debbie's fiancé. This rule says that you don't gossip. It doesn't say you don't listen. You may find it interesting, and knowing what's going on comes in useful sometimes. But there is one part of this rule that is really, really simple: don't pass anything on. That's it. Gossip stops with you. If you listen but don't pass it along or offer an opinion, you'll be seen as one of us rather than a party pooper. You don't have to be seen disapproving, merely don't pass anything along. Gossiping is the occupation of idle minds, those who haven't got enough work to do. It is also the domain of workers who have mindless jobs to do, jobs they can do without thinking, and thus have to occupy themselves with inane chatter, rumors, lies, and malicious stories. Trouble is that if you don't join in, you can be seen as severe or stuck up. You have to look as if you gossip without ever doing it. Don't go getting all self-righteous and telling everyone how silly they are doing it. Don't gossip. With most things, discretion is the key word. Don't be seen disapproving, just don't do it, and keep that to yourself. There is one part of this rule that is really, really simple. Don't pass anything on. Rule 35. 85. If you can't say anything nice, shut up. Don't bitch. Rule 36. 86. The rules of work. Yep, life ain't fair. Sometimes colleagues shirk and you end up with extra work. Bosses can be ill-prepared for their jobs and, as such, are incompetent and often inconsistent. Idiots get promoted all around you. There's too much work to do. There are too many stupid systems in place. Idiots thwart you at every turn. It's true, life's a bitch. Now tell me how moaning helps in any one of these scenarios. Tell me how moaning will change one single thing. It won't. It doesn't. Moaning is a time-wasting device invented by sad people who haven't enough work to do. And they're usually the ones standing next to the ones gossiping. They may even be the same ones, chances are they are. And when they've finished having a good moan, they'll have a good gossip. Moaning is pointless. It is unproductive and achieves nothing. All it does is identifies you as idle, petty, trivial. Encourages you to turn the corners of your mouth down, not attractive. Wastes time. Makes you a magnet for other moaners. Gets you a reputation as someone who doesn't offer anything productive or helpful. Demotivates you and sets up a vicious circle. So, what are you going to do if you are a habitual moaner? Easy. Make sure that whenever you do moan, you make yourself offer a solution to whatever it is you are moaning about. If you can't see a solution, you aren't allowed to moan. Try that for a few weeks, and you'll stop moaning quite naturally. Bitching about others invariably takes place behind their backs. Next time you feel the need for a good bitch about someone, make yourself go and do it to their face. If they aren't present in the room, don't do it. Simple rule, but it works. Once they are there, you'll stop bitching. It's too hard to keep doing it when you've upset everyone in the office. If you've got something to say it to their face, but do see the introduction to this rule first. If you can't say anything nice, shut up. Rule 36. 87. If you can't say anything nice, shut up. Moaning is pointless. It is unproductive and achieves nothing. Compliment people sincerely. Rule 37. 88. The rules of work. The key to this rule is sincerely. You mustn't use compliments glibly, falsely, shallowly, dishonestly, or disingenuously. Compliments must be real, honest, open, guileless, and meaningful. Being the sort of person who gives compliments is quite tricky. You don't want to be seen as a slimeball or spooky, and people who do give compliments can often end up seen like this, but you do want to come across as genuinely warm and friendly. So how to do this? And why? Well, if you do it affably, it makes people think incredibly well about you. It is good office karma. The best way to do it is by being unsophisticated about it. All you have to do is say, "I really like the way you've had your hair cut, and then ask a question about whatever it is you are complimenting her on, and make it about how it was done. So who did your hair? I do like the way you handled that customer, how did you feel saying that? I must say I liked your report, how is it going down with the board? Try to avoid using over-the-top expressions. You don't love their new coat, you merely like it. Remember, if you love it, you'll want to marry it and have its babies. Not true of a coat, or a report, or a hairstyle, or the way someone handles a customer. If you like something, feel free to say so. You can emphasize how much you like something by I really like. I do like. Can I tell you how much I liked? And it doesn't just have to be liked, although it is a very good one to start with. I was impressed by. I thought you did really well. The way you did was very good indeed. I did enjoy your presentation. It was really rather exceptional. When giving compliments, make sure you can't be accused of flirting or coming on to someone. Keep it professional and / or work related. I'm sure you don't need telling this. Rule 37. 89. If you can't say anything nice, shut up. Being the sort of person who gives compliments is quite tricky. Stand up for others. Rule 38. 90. The rules of work. So, you're all sitting round having coffee when the subject of young Adam comes up. Now we all know that Adam is a pain in the backside. He doesn't pull his weight, goofs off, steals the pens and paper clips, is rude to the security staff, always off. Loads as much work onto others as possible, blames others for his mistakes, and is generally obnoxious. So you all have a moan about him behind his back, and get a lot of your anger about his behavior off your chest. But you don't. Oh, the others might, but you won't, not from now on. You are now a rules player, and you stand up for others. No matter how obnoxious young Adam is, you will always find something nice and genuine to say about him. That is your objective. Find something nice to say no matter what. At first this may be quite hard, but if you persevere it becomes increasingly easy. It's all a question of habit and mental outlook. If we are used to bitching and moaning, then that's what we do. But if we change our approach, we can be more posy. Tip, though it does take a bit of effort initially to make this change. Standing up for others, no matter what, gets you a reputation as someone who can always find something nice to say about everybody. Thus, those who you would have moaned about know that you, of all the workforce, will always be fighting their corner for them. It gets you unwritten loyalty and a sort of guardian angel relationship with the more unpopular bears of the team. This is a strange relationship to have, but it works wonders. These are the people who will back you in an emergency. They will let you know if someone is trying to mess you up. They will pull out all the stops for you because they know you care. If you need a favor, they will be the ones to call on. It's amazing how quickly the word will spread that you are a thoroughly nice person. You don't bitch, you don't moan, you stand up for the underdog, you are supportive, and you can always see at least one good point in a thoroughly bad apple. Obviously, you will have to do this in an honest and sincere fashion. It's no good lying or making it up. If you, at first, simply can't find anything positive to say, then shut up. But there is always something nice to say. Nobody is completely evil or wicked or nasty. So, back to young Adam. What are you going to say? Well, for a start you could point out that he makes good coffee. or that he is always on time, or he is very good at handling irate customers, or he has a brilliant sense of humor, or he always knows the football scores. Just keep saying but he's good. Because he. Rule 38. 91 If you can't say anything nice, shut up. It gets you unwritten loyalty and a sort of guardian angel relationship with the more unpopular members of the team. Be cheerful and positive. Rule 39. 92 The rules of work. If you go into work each morning with a positive vibe, it sets you up as the sort of person to whom stress and troubles and problems are but as water off a duck's back. You thus get a reputation as being someone who is in control, smooth, relaxed, confident, and very mature. And all for the sake of a few bars of Moon River, whistled as you make your way to your desk. Be cheerful at all times. So it's raining out there and it's a dark and depressing winter's afternoon. Business is slack, interest rates have just gone up again and the boss is in a foul mood. And everyone's keeping their heads down. It's still no reason to lose your smile. So it's a bad day, this too will pass, and the sun will come back. Whatever your situation, things will always get better. Maintaining a cheerful and positive outlook is a trick. At first, you don't have to believe it, just do it. Act it. Pretend. But do it. After a little while you'll find it isn't an act, you're not pretending, you genuinely do feel cheerful. It's a trick. You are tricking yourself, no one else. Putting on a smile triggers hormones. These hormones will make you feel better. Once you feel better, you will smile more and thus produce more hormones. All it takes is the first few days smiling when you don't feel like it, and you will start a cycle going that will make you feel better all the time. Once you are seen as someone cheerful and positive, people will want to hang out with you more. There is nothing so attractive as a cheerful person. Bring some flowers into work and brighten up your desk. Whistle. Smile. Laugh. Never reveal that you feel like the pits inside. It's all too easy when someone says, "How are you?" to reply, "Oh, okay, I guess, can't complain, mustn't grumble, you know, struggling on." It's a cliché. It's a habit. Try instead. Fine, really good actually, doing okay. There's a trick for you. So someone brings you more work that you simply have to do. It's unavoidable and part of your remit, and just when you thought you could see a little light at the end of the tunnel. Easy to say, "Oh no, not more bloody work. Can't everybody see how busy I am? This really is too much." If it's unavoidable and moaning isn't going to change a thing, then maybe saying, "Fine, just dump it there, I'll get on with it in a moment. Thanks." Why berate the messenger? I'm sure he didn't personally generate all this extra work just to piss you off. So it's a drag having extra work to do. So what? So be cheerful and get on with it. Every second spent moaning and bitching is a second taken off your life. Every second spent being cheerful and positive is a second added on. Take your choice. Rule 39. 93 If you can't say anything nice, shut up. So it's a bad day. This too will pass, and the sun will come back. Ask questions. Rule 40. 94 The rules of work. The object of the exercise is to become popular, promotable, successful, thoroughly nice, Efficient. One of the easiest ways to do this is to learn and practice the habit of asking questions. What sort of questions? Well, that depends, obviously, on the situation. For instance, in Rule 38, compliment people sincerely, we used a couple of examples. Where the follow-up question is useful: I really liked your presentation. I thought you were incredibly calm. How do you avoid shaking? Or I like your new method of handling invoices. What gave you the idea? Asking questions shows that you have paid attention, care, are interested, are thoughtful, are considerate, and intelligent and creative. Stupid people don't ask questions. Bored people don't ask questions. Lazy people don't ask questions. Any case. Belligerent people tend to make statements: I don't like that idea, it's unworkable. Rules players ask questions, they might mean the same thing, but they handle it differently. I think I need more information about this idea. How do you see it working? Will dispatch be able to handle the increase in orders? Can we provide enough extra staff to cover? Maybe we all need to go away and think about this one. What does everyone else think? You haven't said the idea stinks, but they know you think that, but they also think you're a thoroughly nice person. You haven't shot them down in flames in front of their colleagues, but you have given them enough rope to hang themselves if they want to. And you've given them a way out if they choose to take it. Go away and think about it a bit more means let's not hear about this again, but it's a terribly diplomatic way of saying so. Asking questions is a very nice thing to do in a general way. It shows you are interested in your colleagues. But do make the questions genuine and sincere, worthwhile, and kind. There's very little point in asking, where on earth did you get that coat? You can't think it suits you, surely. Much better not to dwell on the coat if it really is horrid. Ask instead about the work: how come you can always do this invoicing so quickly? Do you have some secret the rest of us don't have? As in the case of standing up for someone, even if they are loathsome, there will always be some good point about a person. No one is totally wicked, so too with questions. There will always be some aspect of someone's work that you could ask about, or their hobbies or social life or family. Even if it's a simple "how are the kids," it cuts the ice and makes you nice. It opens up dialogue, generates pleasantness, and creates warmth among people who have to work together every day. Rule 40. 95. If you can't say anything nice, shut up. It shows you are interested in your colleagues. Use please and thank you. Rule 41. 96. The rules of work. You would have thought this one so obvious, so basic, and so fundamental that surely it can't be part of the rules. Sorry, but we all need reminding that saying please and thank you is terribly important. It just doesn't happen enough. People say that they are too busy or too forgetful, or that it should be taken as read that they have said them and they don't need to each and every time. Rubbish. The only reason please and thank you get forgotten is plain old bad manners. If we start ignoring even the basic levels of human decency and politeness, then there really is no point to any of us being here. If we aren't civil and civilized enough to thank someone, or to be bothered enough to say please, then it really is time to pack it in. It doesn't matter how many times a day someone passes you a piece of paper, it is thank you every single time without fail or exception. It doesn't matter how many times you have to ask for the same thing, you always say please. If someone does anything for you, no matter how mundane, trivial, repetitive, boring, effortless, you will always say thank you. You forget one time, and you will be labeled as rude, boorish, and unpleasant. Make someone's day and don't forget, please. Thank you. I once worked with a manager who could get staff to work the graveyard shift, come in on their holidays, work overtime, work their days off, take work home with them, work on weekends, and work harder than any other manager could. We all watched him, trying to work out what it was he was doing that we weren't. He was getting loyalty from his team that we weren't. I know you are ahead of me at this stage, and have got your hand up with the answer. He said please. And thank you. Yes. Happy now? He did indeed. And that simple bit of politeness went a long way. I don't think his staff consciously knew he did it. We certainly couldn't spot it for a long time. Most of us reckoned we also said please and thank you. But he said it without fail every single time. And when you say it, mean it. A sincere and warm thank you goes a long way. It is also a very good way to respond to compliments and praise yourself. If someone says you have done something well, don't blush and stammer, it was nothing really. That subtracts from their compliment. Better instead just to say, thank you. Never use the word please to wheedle or cajole. It is, could you work through this lunchtime, please, as we need extra cover on the phones. I'll make sure you get the time back a bit later this afternoon. It is not, please can you work, pretty please. Rule 41. 97 If you can't say anything nice, shut up. A sincere and warm thank you goes a long way. Don't swear. Rule 42. 98 The rules of work. I know we all do it. I know you think it's cool. I know we have to be modern and move with the times. But I'm sorry, swearing isn't allowed. You can say what you want when you get home, or in the car on your own. But at work you don't swear. It's a simple rule, but it works because it is a default setting. You don't swear. Now what decisions and choices do you have to make about that? Answer, none. None whatsoever. It is your bottom line. You don't swear, so all the tricky stuff has been taken away from you. But if swearing is your default setting, you have so many decisions and choices to make, I'm surprised you get any work done at all. For instance, do you swear every time something goes wrong? Swear over the phone. Swear in front of the boss. Swear in front of customers. Swear at customers. Limit yourself to certain swear words and not use others. Use religious blasphemy as swear words. Limit yourself to mild swearing or go for the really offensive. It's a minefield. It's a nightmare. It really is so much easier to just not bother. This isn't a Puritan dictate. It is an efficiency dictate. It saves time and effort and having to think about it if you simply don't do it. Now go away. Rule 42. 99 If you can't say anything nice, shut up. You can say what you want when you get home, or in the car, on your own. But at work, you don't swear. Be a good listener. Rule 43. 100 The rules of work. I don't mean you should provide a nice padded shoulder for all and sundry to come and cry on. In fact, that probably isn't good listening but therapy. A good listener is someone who makes the speaker know that they are listening. You do this by making encouraging noises. Go on, yes, I'm listening. Displaying appropriate body language, head tilted to one side, eyes open, and looking at the person speaking. Not yawning or fiddling with your watch. Repeating back some bits to make sure they know you've taken them in on Friday at 3, yes, I've got that. Getting them to repeat things you haven't heard or understood. Can you repeat that bit about Peterborough? I'm not sure I was taking that in. Asking questions so the move to Gloucester will not happen now. Taking notes, write stuff down as they speak. Now why would you want to be a good listener? I said, now. Why would you want to be a good listener? Easy. You get more facts. A better understanding of what you are supposed to be doing. A better grasp of what is going on around you. Seen as sympathetic and considerate. Seen as intelligent and alert. Seen as someone on top of their job. If you don't listen, you don't know. If you are going to listen, make sure they know you are. Easy. Good listening is a skill, a special talent, that you will have to practice and learn. It doesn't happen overnight, and it isn't automatic. You have to think about it and catch yourself when you aren't listening and turn it on then. Rule 43. 101. If you can't say anything nice, shut up. Good listening is a skill, a special talent, that you will have to practice and learn. Only speak sense. Rule 44. 102. The rules of work. To become successful and get promoted, you have to project the right image, the wise, mature, reliable, cool, sophisticated, trustworthy, experienced business person, and there are times when all the hard work can be devastated, destroyed by a careless word or unguarded moment. Recently, a shadow government frontbench minister was sacked because she told a racist joke at a rugby club dinner. Her career was brought down by an unguarded moment of not speaking sense. You have to guard your tongue against un-PC comments, offensive jokes, or remarks that alienate any section of the community. Sexism in any form. Patronizing people. Arrogance. Loss of temper. Offensive swearing. See Rule 42. Bitching, moaning, gossiping. See Rules 35, 36, and 37. Revealing what you really think of people. It might be wise to learn to speak only occasionally, rather than chattering on. If you let your tongue run away with itself, it is so much more likely that you'll say the wrong thing. If you think carefully before you speak, pause, and have a chance to bite your tongue, then the chances are that your delivery will be accurate, your speech edited carefully, and you will only speak sense. You thus get a reputation for being wise and mature. People will come to you for advice and guidance, because they know you think about what you are going to say, and don't just chatter on. They will trust you. Once trusted, you are a natural candidate for promotion and success. Make sure that what you have to say has an impact and isn't lost in the general hubbub of office clamor. Don't chat about what you watched on TV last night. To be honest, no one is really interested. Instead, be silent until you have something of import to offer. Rule 44. 103. If you can't say anything nice, shut up. There are times when all the hard work can be devastated, destroyed, by a careless word or unguarded moment. This page intentionally left blank. Part V. Look after yourself. This page intentionally left blank. Most people you deal with are probably decent and good to be around. However, there are always a few who aren't. You can't Avoid them, the bastards, the jealous colleagues, the ones who will take any opportunity to stab you in the back or do you harm. They'll shoot you down in flames at any chance they get. Make sure that your new image doesn't make you a target. These rules are about minimizing enemies and staying one jump ahead. As you get more successful, it is often a sort of organic process that you attract jealousy and envy. By practicing these rules, you will avoid this and look after yourself, especially your back. 107. Look after yourself. Rule 45. 108. The rules of work. So, what do you do for a living? I don't mean the actual job. I mean, what contribution do you make to society? Is your contribution positive, beneficial, healthy? Or is it detrimental, negative, damaging? What does your industry do? How much a part of that industry are you? Have you considered the ethics of your industry? What do we mean by ethics? Ethics are the morals of your industry, the rights and wrongs, the good and bad. Is your industry a good thing or a bad thing? Does it hurt or heal? Is it putting something positive into society or merely taking something out? No, you don't have to walk out if you have just suddenly decided that your own particular industry stinks. What you can do is work from the inside to change things. I don't think we're talking environmental issues here, although I am aware that they may be of concern to a lot of us. Instead, I want you to concentrate on what your industry does morally. Obviously, if you do decide that your industry is unjustified in its approach, and this happened to me and I walked and you simply cannot live with it, then you have to get out. This is good karma, and you gain benefit even if you do lose out financially. Within your industry there will be good bits and bad bits. Occasionally, you will be asked to cross the line and do bad things. Obviously, you will have read Rule 47, set personal standards, but this is about helping set standards for your industry rather than personal ones. You have to point out that morally, ethically, what you are being asked to do is bad for the know the ethics of your industry. Company. Constantly say, what would the press do if they got hold of this, and offer them a suitable headline. Scrooge Ltd. replaces sacked workers with Asian sweatshop labor. Yes, you can be as assertive as you like and refuse, but you might just get labeled then as a wimp who is frightened to get his hands dirty, no guts, that sort of thing. No, you have to point out the ramifications for the company. You have to implant the idea of the whistleblower. Hey, what would they do with this? This way you will be one of the company people while still playing the ethics card. You will be one of us. And one of them all at the same time. To do all this, you have to know the ethics of your industry. And know what its contribution is. Do your research now. Rule 45. 109. Look after yourself. Is your industry a good thing or a bad thing? Does it hurt or heal? Know the legalities of your industry. Rule 46. 110. The rules of work. Is your company breaking any laws? Are you breaking any laws? Do you know the legalities of your industry? I once worked for an organization that was, initially, ably above board. It prided itself on being a standard setter, a new thing in the industry. After a few years, it suddenly changed direction and lost the Jekyll to gain the Hyde. It was quite bizarre, and I couldn't see why it happened. Senior board members hadn't changed that much, and circumstances didn't seemed to demand it. We weren't fighting for our lives here. But suddenly laws were being broken, and I do mean laws. Suddenly I found myself working for a crooked and corrupt company. What to do? I turned a blind eye for a while, but eventually I too was asked to participate in the law breaking. It was at that point I left. I kept my honor and reputation and went to work for the opposition, its rival. Once there, I was asked about my old company and what it got up to, but I wouldn't give any information that would allow my new bosses to gain benefit over my old company. I don't know why, but it seemed honorable to sit on what I knew. I was happy to talk about the way they did business, just so long as it didn't spill over into this area of legalities. A few years later I found myself working for a company that was taken over by my old corrupt bunch. By now the company had been caught, punished, and cleaned up its act. Did I want to work for the company again? Not particularly. But I did have an interview with a senior director who said he was happy to have me on board. At least you know how to keep your mouth shut, he said. The leopard still seemed a bit spotty to me, and I walked. So, how clean is your industry? Your company? You have to know what you might be asked to do and what is legal and what isn't. Some industries have incredibly minute and trivial laws that you can run foul of almost without realizing it. But realize it you must. To be a rules player you have to be cleaner than clean, above suspicion, and never allow yourself to be scapegoated into anything. If your company is looking for a sucker, make sure it ain't you. Make sure you stay clearly this side of the line, and don't stray over it accidentally. If you choose to break the law, that's one thing, but how awful it would be if you ended up in prison because you didn't know. Better to be an intelligent convict than a stupid one. But I didn't know has never been an effective defense. Rule 46. 111 Look after yourself. To be a rules player, you have to be cleaner than clean. Set personal standards. Rule 47. 112 The rules of work. Do you sleep nights? I know I do, but then I set personal standards that I simply won't break. I will not knowingly hurt or hinder another human being in the pursuit of my career. I will not knowingly break any laws in the furtherance of my career. I will have a moral code that I will follow no matter what. I will endeavor to provide a positive contribution to society by what I do for a living. I will not do anything that I would be ashamed to talk to my children about. I will put my family first at all times. I will not work evenings or weekends unless it is an emergency and I have discussed it with my partner. I will not unfairly harm anyone in my pursuit of new work. I will always endeavor to put something back. I will pass on freely and openly any skills, knowledge, or experience to anyone who could use them to benefit themselves within the same industry. I won't hog in for mashin for the sake of it. I will not be jealous of anyone else's success in the same industry. I will question the long-term ramifications of what I do constantly. I will play by the rules at all times. This code of conduct is my own personal set of standards. It might not suit you. You may need or have a better set. I do hope you don't opt for a worse one. We must endeavor to be the very, very best we can at all times. Rule 47. 113 Look after yourself. We must endeavor to be the very, very best we can at all times. Never lie. Rule 48. 114 The rules of work. This rule, as in the case of Rule 42, don't swear, is very easy. It sets a limit that you don't have to think about. Never lie means exactly that, never lie. Under no circumstances do you lie. Once you have got a reputation as someone who never lies, you won't ever be asked to cover up, or cover for anyone else. If you do decide to lie for a living, you have too many choices and decisions. Where do you draw the line? Do you only tell little lies? Great big ones? Do you lie to save yourself? Others? Do you lie for the company? For your boss? For colleagues? How developed will your lies be? Will you add lie to lie when the first lie looks like it's about to be detected? Where will you stop this process? Will you involve other people in your lies? Or will you be a lone liar? Can you see the problems? If you have a simple rule, never lie, you have a default setting that requires no thought, no choices, no decisions, no alternatives, no picking, no preferences. Not ever lying also saves you from guilt, fear, recrimination. Having to remember the lies, the risk of being punished or sacked or embarrassed, ostracizing your colleagues, putting your family in jeopardy, running the risk of a criminal prosecution, and not sleeping nights. Never lie is really the simplest, cleanest, most honest approach to your working life and career. It is, of course, okay to embellish and hype up your resume or experience or enthusiasm, but please don't actually lie. You will be found out, I guarantee it. If I'm offering a book to a publisher and they ask me what it is like, I don't say, "It's all right, I suppose." No, instead I say, "It's brilliant, simply brilliant. It will sell extremely well and might well be the bestseller we're looking for." Is any of this a lie? Not really. I wouldn't be writing it if I didn't think it was brilliant. Will it sell that well? It might. Who am I to know for certain? It's a changeable market. Is it a lie to say it will? No. You are allowed to talk up your qualities or skills or expertise, just don't actually tell a lie. And a lie is anything that can be proved definitely to be wrong. To say you are qualified as a software programmer when you aren't is a lie. To say you are a wizard at software programming isn't, because it is a matter of opinion rather than fact. But if in doubt, never lie or embellish if you can't think fast on your feet. Rule 48. 115. Look after yourself. You are allowed to talk up your qualities or skills or expertise. Just don't actually tell a lie. Never cover up for anyone else. Rule 49. 116. The rules of work. Being a rules player means you are aiming for perfection, that you are setting extremely high standards for yourself. Others will not have these standards, obviously. They won't be as successful as you because of this, but they may well try to either get you to lower yours or to involve you in their shenanigans. What do you do? Again, be happy with a simple default set. You don't cover up for anyone, ever, under any circumstances. This way it is simple. You don't have to think about this. You have no choices or decisions to make. You know exactly where you stand. You have let your colleagues know exactly where they stand. You have let your boss know that you won't cover for anyone, therefore you are above suspicion, trustworthy, reliable, beyond reproach. If you do decide to cover for others, it complicates your life so much that it can't really be worth it. For instance, do you only cover for close colleagues or anyone who asks? Do you only cover for small incidents or the big ones? What about cover? Ing for fraud? Criminal negligence? What do you say and do when you get found out? How do you explain it to your family when you get sacked? How do you handle it when asked to cover up for a close colleague who might well be a friend as well? You can be fairly assertive and just say no, you don't have to explain. Or you can soften the blow by saying, please don't ask me, I would have to say no if you do, to give them a get out clause and save their face. Once you have done this, it gets easier. You've established a reputation for not covering up. The hardest bit is ignoring the emotional blackmail that often accompanies a request to cover up for someone. But in reality, that is quite easy to ignore, in the sense that if people think so little of you to use this technique, then why the hell shouldn't you turn them down? They have already cooked their goose by using such an approach on you. If they put pressure on you, adopt the stuck record technique. And just keep saying, no, I can't, please don't ask. No, I can't. Please don't ask. They'll crack before you. Always remember that real friends will never ask you to cover up for them. Rule 49. 117. Look after yourself. If you do decide to cover for others, it complicates your life so much that it can't really be worth it. Keep records. Rule 50. 118. The rules of work. When a publisher and I agree to do a book together, we draw up a contract. This specifies all those things that could get forgotten along the way. That way, when I deliver the manuscript, and the publisher says, but this is only 100 pages and I thought we had agreed on 200, I can produce the contract and find the clause where it clearly states 100 pages, or so many words, or whatever. If your boss asks you to do something and you make a note of it in front of him, he will have a very hard job arguing later that you've done it wrong or late. If you have to submit a report, then drop your boss a quick memo or note outlining the salient facts, very briefly, so there will be no confusion later. Keep a copy. Make sure your boss knows you have kept a copy. This technique isn't to cover your back because you are up to no good. Instead, it clarifies all issues. If it's in writing, it makes your job so much simpler, so much easier. Who can argue with a written memo? In fact, such things could be forged, written afterwards, changed, amended, and / or rewritten, but we all assume they aren't, that they are tamper-proof. It is amazing how often the tiniest detail will cause a major upset unless you got it in writing in the first place. Keeping records isn't an anal thing to do, but a sensible precaution. None of us has perfect memory. We all forget things, dates, times, details. Once we have made a note of whatever it is, we can refer to it later, and often surprise ourselves with how badly we have remembered something. You will often read in management books the advice to throw away all memo or emails or faxes over a certain age. If you haven't looked at it in 6 months, then you don't need it. Rubbish. You hang on to everything. Make more filing space. Rather than throw anything away, unless and until you are 100% certain it is not needed. I once had a major quarrel with a publisher, not this one, of course, relating to a book I had written for them 5 years previously. It was a dispute that wasn't covered by anything in the contract. But I had kept my original notes and could produce them, a bit like having to show your work during math at school, and could show that what they had published had been exactly what they had asked for. I was off the hook. You won't get me throwing any Thing away. No way. Rule 50. 119 Look after yourself. If it's in writing, it makes your job so much simpler. So much easier. Know the difference between the truth and the whole truth. Rule 51. 120 The rules of work. While we have ascertained that you ain't never ever gonna lie, and you don't cover up for colleagues no matter what, you don't have to be a goody-goody and tell tales. You don't need to volunteer information unless it directly helps you to do so. Knowing that a colleague has screwed up doesn't mean you have to run to the boss and rat on him. Instead, it might be beneficial sometimes to stand back and watch how things develop. If your colleague knows you know and you ain't saying anything, there might be a favor being born there that could be recalled later. And, of course, if you do get asked, you don't lie. But, again, know the difference between the truth and the whole truth. Not lying is one thing, but throwing up and regurgitating everything you do know is something else. Sometimes it pays to be a little editorial with what truth you are giving out. The beauty of being a rules player is that you move up and are successful, and you are still able to live with yourself to be a thoroughly nice person. This means you don't lie and don't cover up, but it also means you don't spy on your colleagues, rat on them, betray them, or harm them. Look, it's a real world out there, and it can be dog eat dog. Be careful, there are some pretty unsavory characters. There may be ruthlessness going on around you, but you don't have to participate. You don't have to be a teacher's pet, either. Keep your wits about you at all times, and know when to spill the beans and when to shut the duck up. I guess you have to be a diplomat, knowing what to say and when to say it, martial arts expert thinking on your feet, therapist letting others bring their problems to you, but keeping yours to yourself, and Zen master all-seeing, all-knowing, saying little. So when people ask for your opinion, you have to weigh up what it is they are really asking. Do they really want the truth? Their report sucks. Or a limited version of the truth? Your report is fine, it'll just about do the job. A highlighted truth? Your report is good, but you have missed out quite a lot. A reassurance truth? Your report is really good and I liked it, and I like you because your report is so good. Or the real truth? I haven't had time to read it yet because I don't like you and think it'll be a pretty boring report, bit like you really. Rule 51. 121 Look after yourself. There may be ruthlessness going on around you, but you don't have to participate. Cultivate your support / contacts / friends.